Welcome, everybody. Do I have audio? Welcome to today's Oh, there we go. Law of Self-Defense show. Much better. Much better. The second Law of Self-Defense show of the day. Yes, I know. I said I would be home. I did head home. I had some soup. I had hoped to live stream from home. Much better. The second Law of Self-Defense show of the day. Okay. I got to fix something here. Yes, I know. I said I would be home. I did head home. I had some soup. I had hoped to live stream. All right. Got rid of that echo. That's good. I had hoped to live stream, but we have a bunch of kids over the house. So would have been not a great environment for live streaming. So I grabbed the quick lunch and I'm back in the office. To start with trial day 3 of the Nicolae Miu murder trial. We're catching up. Day 3 was last Wednesday. We'll get through as much of it as we can today. Nicolae Miu, of course, was the 52-year-old tubing on the Apple River when he had an encounter with 6 children, 6 17-year-old teenagers, tall, muscular, male. 2 of them now play for college football teams, who started screaming at him and aloud that he was looking for little girls, that he was a pedophile, that he was a predator, attracted some more people over from another group that were tubing on the river. Things turned physical. Nicolae Miu was punched into the river. Someone pushed him face down into the water. He was punched at least twice more. And he came back up with a knife and started defending himself. Ended up stabbing 5 people, one of them fatally. So he's charged with murder for that killing and attempted murder for the 4 stabbing victims who survived. And it's claimed that he triggered things by punching a blonde woman. So he's charged with battery for that as well. The murder charge, of course, being the important one here. And we've listened to a full 2 days of opening statement and trial testimony. Mostly the testimony has been from other teenagers or other participants besides the defendant, aggressors, I would characterize them, on the river. All frequently providing testimony inconsistent with what they told police at the time and what they've said in the intervening 21 months. So they've been subject to that kind of impeachment and cross-examination. The defense has been very good. Let's see if I have my my little summary pages here. The defense is Aaron Nelson, who I'm not familiar with, but he's been doing a great job. And it looks like second chair is Corey Chirafisi, who was also second chair in the Kyle Rittenhouse trial. Did a great job there, especially on cross, and is doing a great job here on cross. Prosecution is Carl Anderson, who's the elected district attorney, with the support of Brian Smedstad. They've been doing, I would say, not a great job. I don't think they really have much to work with in terms of the law or the facts. And they have a bunch of lousy witnesses they've been presenting. And the judge is Judge Michael Waterman. Judge Waterman's been doing a great job. Very much a judge in control of his courtroom, seems pretty even-handed, dealing with objections, likes to keep things moving, strikes me as a smart judge. Now, of course, the defendant is Nicolae Miu. The one victim of the stabbing who died was Isaac Shuman, a 17-year-old going on the tubing, especially by the non-defendant group. The 17-year-old who died had a blood alcohol level well above 0.2, so a multiple of the legal limits. Most of the other youths he was with had been drinking. Most of the team, everybody really had been drinking and smoking marijuana. The second group that was also involved in attacking Nicolae Miu also drinking. So, you know, alcohol doing its part in all of this. All right, so I'm behind. So I didn't cover this while it was taking place last week. So I'm catching up. I'm trying to catch up as quickly as I can. I covered most of day 2 earlier today in the first show of today, what I call part 3. Now this is what I call part 4, my 4th show covering this trial. And I'm catching up. I'm starting day 3 of the trial, which took place last Wednesday. and we'll catch up and as much as we can. And this, of course, is what we're covering. Apple River Trial, Part 4 for me. So with that said, let me go ahead and start the formal launch of today's show. And of course, we have a sponsor, us, Law Self-Defense, in the form of our upcoming Law Self-Defense Advanced class. This is our full day course taught live by me, streamed to you at your computer using Zoom. Our full day course that teaches you everything you need to know about being hard to convict if you're ever compelled to use force in defense of yourself, your family, your property. I assure you that Nicolae Miu would be much better off today if he'd taken this course before he tubed down the river, July 30th, 2022. Doesn't help you to take the course after the fact, folks. You need to have this expertise, insight, knowledge on board before the fight happens. And you don't choose when the fight happens. The bad guy does that. So this class is happening Saturday, April 20th. We only teach it twice a year at the most. So if you miss this one, it'll be at least October until it happens again. And again, you don't know when you'll be attacked. So I would encourage you to take this course sooner rather than later. If you sign up now, it's still the 50% off registration period at lawofselfdefense.com/advanced. Just go to that website. We have a list of more than 100 very specific self-defense law questions that we answer in plain English over the course of that class. And there's plenty of opportunity for live Q&A as well. We cover things like defense of yourself, defense of others, family, neighbors, colleagues, strangers, all different. Defense of property, highly defensible property like your home, least defensible property like, believe it or not, your pets. We cover interacting with the police in the aftermath of a use of force event. And the biggest damage that Nicolae Miu did to himself in this case was his interaction with the police in the aftermath of the use of force event. But for some dissembling and some discarding of evidence that he decided to engage in, he probably would never have been charged on the facts of this case. We teach you how to develop your own customized, legally sound self-defense strategy and much, much more, all in one day, Saturday, April 20th. And if you can't make that day, if you have a conflict, I would urge you to sign up anyway, because we will make the recorded playback of the class available to all the registered students for 2 weeks afterwards, so you can watch it at your leisure in the following 2 weeks, but that's only for registered students. So register today, get 50% off, learn how to be hard to convict at lawofselfdefense.com/advanced. Okay. Questions and comments. If you'd like me to address questions and comments, if you're a Law of Self-Defense member, I would encourage you, of course, to just watch the show on live stream there, put your questions and comments there. I know some of you prefer to watch on YouTube because of certain functionality YouTube has. I don't blame you for that, but you should still put your comments into the member chat so you get those answered for free. If you're on YouTube watching this and you'd like a comment or question addressed, I'm happy to do that, but it needs to be a minimum $10 super chat on YouTube. For the cost of one super chat on YouTube, you could be a Law Self-Defense member for a month, by the way. A month. In fact, it doesn't even have to take $10 because you can become a trial member for 2 weeks for just 99 cents. Have all the access that a full member has, 99 cents for 2 weeks, which will certainly cover this trial. But if you decide to stay a member, it's still dirt cheap. It's only about 30 cents a day, less than $10 a month to get all your questions answered for free for a month, as opposed to $10 a question on YouTube. But ultimately, you have to decide what's best for you. If you do want to take advantage of this trial membership for 99 cents, sign up at lawofselfdefense.com/trial. For 99 cents, get emailed instantly access how to join us in the member stream, member chat, and join us there. All right, so let's jump into day 3 of the trial. We're looking at the back of the head of Nicolae Miu right here. The jury's about to be brought in, and there'll be a little bit of chatter, but the first witness comes on pretty quick. So here we go. Let me make sure I have my settings, closed caption. I am playing this at 1.25 speed, folks, so people will seem like they're talking pretty fast. It's partly that, but I'm trying to catch up on the prior week proceedings. Yeah, I still have a tie because I had to come back to the office, so I wasn't able to stream from home. So sorry, folks. All right, so here we go.
Please be seated. Your chair's in the front. There we go. Welcome back, members of the jury. Thank you for being prompt. It allows us to get started right away this morning. Before we take up the next witness, I just have a couple of announcements. First, I want to welcome one of our newer bailiffs, Jean Myers. You probably met Jean down in the assembly room. This is her first jury trial, correct? So she is shadowing Warren, who is our most experienced bailiff, to learn from him today. So welcome to Branch 4, Jean. I was also told this morning that Mr. Smestad is feeling ill, so he may excuse himself during the trial. So I just don't want you wondering why he suddenly gets up and leaves the courtroom. So that's the reason, if it happens. Mr. Anderson, who is the next witness?
State calls Anthony Carlson.
Okay, Mr. Carlson, please come forward. A little closer. All the way up. There you go. Face the clerk. Raise your right hand. She will administer the oath.
Do you swear that the testimony you are about to give in this matter shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, ma'am. Please have a seat in the witness chair. Mr. Anderson.
Can we actually approach real quick, Judge? There's one thing I forgot to mention.
Yes.
That awful white noise. So this is the 9th witness for the state, according to my notes. Anthony Carlson, he's one of the sons of the second group of people who was tubing down the river. What was the last witness? Was it Quentin Carlson? Dante Carlson? Quentin Carlson is the father. Dante Carlson is one of the sons, one of the people who punched Nicolae Miu. And now we have Anthony Carlson, his brother, who also walked over to the confrontation with Nicolae Miu.
Can you please state your first and last name for the record?
Anthony Carlson.
And Anthony, do you go by a nickname?
Tony.
Tony, how old are you?
24.
24.
And are you Dante Carlson's older brother?
Yes.
What city and state do you live in?
St. Paul in Minnesota.
And do you work?
Yes.
What do you do for work?
I work at a lot for Recovery Industries.
Is that a solar industry?
No, Recovery Industries is a towing company.
Okay. And you were tubing with your brother and other people on July 30, 2022?
Yes.
And at some point, did you notice or you alerted to something going on the river?
Yeah.
Can you describe what you remember about that?
We were just floating down the river, and then we heard some screaming across the river, and then eventually I do remember them yelling for help. And at first we sat there for a moment, and then my father said to go over there and help or like de-escalate the situation. And as I was going over there, I mean, I saw someone get hit, someone screamed, "Don't hit a girl," and then everything else ensued.
And did you actually go over there and try to de-escalate, break things up?
Yes. As I went over there, I started yelling at people to back up and get away. I don't remember exactly who I was yelling at. I know I was yelling at everyone in the situation, not just one side or the other.
And Tony, were you drinking on the river?
Yes.
And if your medical records say your BAC was 0.119, would that sound about right?
Yes. I don't know exactly, BAC and how it works.
Okay. Do you think you're intoxicated?
Yes.
I would like to.
Just about the same as his brother, Dante.
I want to go through some frames with you.
1831 on there at the layout right now.
I'll let you know when I'm ready.
And the judge knows how to knot a tie. Look at that knot. It's pretty good. More respect for the judge. Yeah, you drunk people, my drunk sons, go over there and de-escalate that situation. 5 stabbings later. For people who say you can't hit a girl, be assured that you can. It's possible. Not saying it's the right thing to do.
Okay. This is frame 2556. I'm just going to scroll through a little bit. Stopping at 2563. Do you see yourself in that image?
I do.
And which one are you?
Wearing the jean shorts in the back in front of Quentin Carlson and behind AJ Martin.
Okay. You're just walking up at this point?
Yes, trying to figure out what's going on. I just heard a bunch of yelling and such.
All right. You can mute the screen.
They're doing construction in the courthouse.
All right. This is frame 2779. I'm going to scroll through and then ask you some questions. I'm going to stop at 3010. Actually, I'm going to pause here at 2826. Is that you walking by?
Yes.
And 2844. Looks like you're getting between Mr. Miu and the guy filming.
Yes.
And you're what did you say you're yelling at people to do?
I was yelling at them to back up and get away.
It looks like I'm on 2900. It looks like up to this point, your attention was to somebody off to the right. Now you're turning back towards Mr. Miu.
I was turning back towards the group, yeah, to see who else needed to be, if anybody was still escalating anything or what was going on. I was just trying to separate everyone.
And I'm going to back up here at 2924. Looks like you're pointing and yelling something in the direction of Mr. Miu.
Yeah. From my recollection, I saw him walking up towards the others. So I was going to him to tell him to stop and to walk away or get away.
Mr. Anderson, I'm having a little bit of hard time hearing you.
Oh, sorry.
Use the mic or speak up, please.
Sure.
Thank you.
And what are you doing at this point in the video?
There was a lot of yelling going on, and I was telling him to walk away, but it looked like he was walking up to the girls in my group, so I was trying to get his attention, so I just put my hand on his back.
And for the record, I paused there at 2958. So after you put your hands on his back, telling him to walk away, what happened?
At the time, I thought he was going in to try and punch me, so I tried to hit his hand down, and then, he went at me again.
And were you actually able to hit his hand away the first time?
Yeah, I knocked it down, and then I have a scar right here from when I knocked it down. The knife hit and just scratched. And then after that, he came again and stabbed me. And like I said, at the time, I didn't know. I thought it was just a punch.
Did you realize anyone was getting stabbed at that point?
No.
So what kind of fight did you think you were breaking up?
I just thought it was, something other, like they were yelling at each other about something. I didn't know exactly what, but I was just trying to de-escalate it.
And did you see Madison Cohen get punched?
I didn't see necessarily her get punched, but I did hear, "You don't ever hit a woman."
Yes.
showing you that's been marked as Exhibit 35. What is that?
That is the scar from when I blocked the knife down.
And is there something above that?
Yeah, the step wound.
So I'd move to admit and ask to publish, Judge.
Okay, it's received. Go ahead and publish.
I'm going to do it on my computer. I'll let the clerk know when I'm ready. All right, can you show my screen? So you said one time you kind of blocked it. Which injury is that on here?
The lower one.
The one that kind of looks like a V?
Yep.
And then
Yes.
did one strike actually penetrate?
Yes.
And where's that one?
Under the bandage there.
It looks like, is this after you're at the hospital?
This is right as I'm leaving the hospital, yes.
If you know, does it look like it's bleeding through the Band-Aid, or is that just the tone of the Band-Aid, do you know?
No, I was bleeding a little bit through the Band-Aid from the stitches.
Thank you. Do you remember ever seeing a knife in Nicolae's hand?
No.
And have you watched and listened to the portion of the video that I just went through with you?
Yeah, if you would like, you can play it again.
Do you hear yourself in that video saying back up or get back, something like that?
I believe I do, yeah.
I want to show you that part of the video. Okay, can I have the screen, please? And I'm going to go back to the frames. While I'm doing this, Tony, is it fair your memory's not perfect from that day?
No.
Is there a lot you don't remember?
Yes.
Okay, I'm on 2942. Let's scroll through. So at this point, 2959, are you off screen to the right?
Yes. I can see my left hand and right over his shoulder.
Okay. And you don't know the guy's name who's filming, right?
No.
Okay. So you got the, I'm just gonna put a C for.
A packet of fresh markers in there. Yeah, open them up, use them.
I'm just gonna put a C for cameraman, fair?
Yeah.
And so if that camera is facing that way, and then you got the frame. You got you somewhere there, and you're
Darn it. Ah. All right, I'll start again. So, people in the comments are saying that Madison Cohen, this woman in the thumbnail here on the right, the yeller, the person who was supposedly punched by the defendant, that she's already testified, but because she claimed to be a victim, she presumably under Wisconsin's Marcy law, she was allowed to testify off camera without being televised. So I only see what's televised. So I obviously haven't seen her testimony. But I have heard people refer to her testimony in exchanges with other witnesses. So I presume that's the case. I have no idea what she said, or of course, how credible it might have been.
somewhere off to the right of the frame.
Can I see
the
the?
screen back up?
Yeah,
Okay.
that is correct.
I just put a T for Tony, but I wrote it sideways. Want to keep
Did you see the diagram?
I'm going to keep scrolling here. Now, at 2993, those aren't your hands, are they?
No.
Do you know whose they are?
Now I do, yes.
Okay. At the time, you didn't know who that was?
No.
Now you know it to be Isaac, but you had no
Yes.
idea who it was.
At the moment.
So would he have been kind of just to your left?
It seems,
No
yeah.
foundation.
Sustained.
But a few frames ago, you were off. Were you off frame to the right?
Yes,
Isaac here is off frame to the right.
yes.
Objection, he has no foundation. He doesn't have an end.
If I,
Well, hold on.
I'll-
Sustained on foundation, but I think the
I'll-
questions are being framed in a way that's leading us to this place.
Sure.
You can just rephrase your questions, it might help.
Judge, I'll just move on.
All right.
You can take it down. So I forgot to ask you a clarifying question about the V-shaped wound. So do you remember how his hand came at you when you kind of blocked it away?
I mean, it went like this, but at first, I mean, I just thought it was a punch. I think it was just going for a low jab, but I tried hitting it down with my arm, and then he came back up.
The second one is the one that got you higher.
Yes.
Do you remember telling law enforcement that after Nicolae stabbed you, you punched him?
I do.
And is that on the video?
No.
Do you believe you're mistaken on that?
Yes.
I don't have anything else.
Mr. Nelson?
So you said you're intoxicated, is that right?
Yes.
You were with some of your family and other friends, correct?
Yes.
You were there on the river celebrating, correct?
For my father's birthday, yes.
You were also there with Madison Cohen,
Yes.
celebrating her birthday as well.
I mean, I came there for my father's birthday.
Understood. Yeah, no judgment in it, but others were celebrating her birthday, correct?
Yes.
She was celebrating her own birthday, correct?
Yes.
There's a photo that I think we've seen of the 10 of you standing on there on the river. Have you seen that photo?
Yep.
You remember that
Yes.
photo? You and I think 3 or 4 other people are holding a beer up to your lips, and it looks like you're consuming the beer at that time. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Part of that photo was to document your guys drinking alcohol, correct?
I'm going to object on waste of
Hold on,
time.
one second.
I'm going to object on waste of time, and I think it's cumulative. It's established.
I got this witness. Overruled.
You were the photo was to document all of you together, correct?
Yes.
And for whatever reason, 4 of you decided that when the photo was taken, you wanted to make sure that you were drinking a beer, right?
Yes.
Fair to say that you wanted to document your drinking beer.
It was not, it's more or less that we wanted to document it. It was just that we were having a fun time with our family. And in that moment, we all just made the decision to have it set.
And you have a brother, Dante, right?
Yes.
You're older than him,
Yes.
a little bigger than him.
Yes.
He was drinking.
Yes.
You were drinking.
Yes.
AJ Martin was drinking.
Yes.
Riley Madison was drinking.
Yes.
Madison Cohen was drinking.
Yes.
Again, I'm sure you weren't keeping track of everybody else, but it looked like everybody else was consuming at about the same rate that you were consuming.
No.
Do you know who was doing what?
I don't know.
So they could have been drinking more. They could have been drinking the same. They could have been drinking less. You don't know.
Based off of knowing them in the past, I know they don't.
Okay. You're the bigger consumer.
Yes.
Okay. You talked to the police when you got out of that same day or the next day on July 31st. Is that right?
I believe it was the same day. I don't remember
You
exactly.
didn't stay overnight in the hospital?
I don't believe so.
Okay. So it must have been the same day and I got my date wrong, which is fine. But you did speak with the police, right?
Yes.
And you realize that that's recorded, correct?
Yep.
And if you, as part of your preparation for this, did you get a chance to watch that recording?
No.
They didn't show you that?
I believe they did a while back, but I don't remember it now.
I just want to go over some of the things that you said to the police then to see if how they track with today, okay?
Okay.
One of the first things that you said to them is, I don't remember much about it. You told them that, correct?
Yes.
You also said, I don't remember a lot, but what I remember is floating down the river, and then you started to give some of the details, or some of the overview of what you remember.
I believe so.
Make sense? Again, you said the second time, I don't remember a lot, right?
Yes.
And you spoke about that for about 30 seconds to 60 seconds, and then at around the 4-minute mark, you said, that's all I remember. Agreed?
I don't remember, so I don't know.
And right after that, you were telling them that you have a certain medical condition. Is that right?
Yes.
You do have a medical condition, correct?
Yes.
And I don't want to pry too much, but it results in your having the potential for seizures, correct?
Yes.
And obviously you're aware of that, correct?
Yes.
And I would imagine that medical condition probably changes how you go through life, correct?
I would say yes.
You try to avoid certain things because of this fragility that you may have, correct?
No.
You don't want to have seizures, right?
Yes.
And there are certain things that you know maybe make you more vulnerable to seizures, correct?
Yes.
And I would imagine you probably go through life trying to avoid those instances in which you would put yourself at risk of a seizure, correct?
What are these instances?
I don't know. It's not my.
Wait, stop, please. We've got 3 people talking at the same time. I can't have that. And you have to speak up, Carl. I can barely hear you. I even lost track where we are.
He says, well, let me just go.
Start
Let me
over.
skip ahead and go to something. This condition, you told the police, you said, I was on the verge of having a seizure, and every time I have one, I just don't remember anything, and I was blanking out a lot. That's what you told the police, correct?
Yeah, if that's what the report says, I don't remember.
You don't remember telling them you don't remember that you blanked out.
Yes.
Your experience is, though, when you're on the verge of having a seizure, that impacts your ability to remember things, correct?
After I have the seizure, yes.
Okay, sure. Then whatever your memory was, it's kind of erased, right?
Not erased. I mean, once things are explained, I do reconcile throughout my memory a bit, and then it is brought up.
And is it a memory, or do you just deduce what must have happened by using deductive reasoning? Or do you actually have a memory in your head of seeing something of that happen?
When certain things are brought up, I do have slight memories of things like reconciling in my brain.
Okay. But what you told the police is you were blanking out a lot, correct?
If that's what the report says, yes.
And that's, as you sit here today, you remember that you told the police you were blanking out because you were, in fact, blanking out a lot on July 30th, 2022, when you were on the river in that stressful situation.
No.
You weren't blanking out.
Not in that moment. I mean, obviously, it's been a long time now, so the memories are flawed, I would say. But in that moment when it happened, I was not blanking out or having a seizure onset. So.
Do you know why you would have told the police, I just don't remember anything and I was blanking out a lot?
Yes, because afterwards I was holding my friend's intestines.
And I appreciate that that was a traumatic experience for you. I didn't mean to imply that it was anything but what you were saying is the blanking out happened with your dealing with the after effects of this event.
The trauma, yes.
Okay. All right, I want to go through some of what you said here. What I know for sure is you said you never saw the knife, correct?
Correct.
You went over there, you must have seen some things, correct?
What do you mean by that?
Well, we saw the slide where you walk over and you're kind of coming over late compared to when everybody else is there. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
And when you come over at some point, you see who you now know as Mr. Miu get hit, correct?
Yes.
You see it's your brother that's hitting him, correct?
I didn't at the time.
Okay. You just knew somebody had hit him, correct? And you said, I was yelling at people to back up. I was yelling at everyone, not just one side or the other. That's what you said, correct?
Yes.
And let's just talk about the sides here for a moment, okay? On the one side, there was 13 people. Agreed?
I didn't know at the time, but now I do, yes.
And on the other side, there was Mr. Miu, correct?
Yes.
And so when you approach, you see Mr. Miu, the member of one, he got hit, correct?
At the time, I didn't know who had gotten hit. I just was telling everyone to separate.
Sure. You saw a person that got hit, correct?
Yes.
And that person was Mr. Miu, correct?
Yes.
And that person was down in the water, correct?
Yes.
And people on the other side continued to hit Mr. Miu, the one person that was down in the water, correct?
By the time I was over there, I didn't see that. I was just separating people.
But whatever it was you saw at that point, you were yelling, back up, telling people to stop, correct?
Yes, because I saw a large group together. I just saw
You
a bunch of bodies together. I didn't see anything specific.
And those bodies were all around Mr. Miu, the person who had got hit and was in the water, correct?
I didn't know who was surrounding who.
Well, you agree that one person can't surround anyone, agreed?
Yes.
So you agree if there's somebody being surrounded, it would be Mr. Miu, correct?
Objection. He hasn't answered. He said he doesn't know who was being surrounded.
Sustained.
So just want to make sure it's clear. You don't know who was being surrounded, but you saw somebody being surrounded, correct?
No, I just saw a large group in a huddled conversation. They were all yelling.
Okay. And then did you see this before or after you saw Mr. Miu get hit in the water?
Like when I saw him, I didn't see him get hit. I just saw someone get hit.
Okay. You saw the after effects of someone getting hit.
Yes.
And what that was is you saw that someone falling into the water.
Yes.
And then you saw that someone being converged upon by others.
Yes.
And then you saw that someone essentially being surrounded, correct?
Objection. Asked and answered.
Time-wise.
Sustained. We've been through this.
And when you see that someone being surrounded, that's
Objection. He said he doesn't remember that.
he just
Wait,
answered.
please. Let's get the question out. If there's an objection to the complete question, make it. I'll make a ruling.
When you saw that one person being surrounded, that's when you started yelling at people to back up and get away, correct?
No.
Objection. The testimony is he didn't know if anyone was surrounded. He went up to a group of people.
So it is repetitive. Sustained. Next question, please.
You'd said you were trying to separate everyone. Well, let me take a second. We watched through the slides starting at 2779 through, I think, 2924. Do you remember when he went through those slides?
Yes.
And at one point there, you said you were trying to separate everyone. You agree that's what you said?
Yes.
And when you were trying to separate everyone, what at that point you had observed is one person getting hit, correct?
I didn't see him getting hit. I just saw that he was on the ground for a moment and I was focused on telling people to back up.
What we know is you never saw him with a knife, correct?
Yes.
So you weren't telling people to back up from him because you were worried about him. You were telling people to back up from him because you wanted them to stop beating him up, right?
No, I wanted everyone to step away because I didn't know what the situation was again.
And what you saw was someone was getting beaten up.
I saw a lot of people around each other. Obviously, one was in the water, so I just told them to back up.
Now, I want to just go through a couple of other things. When you were there, did you hear you said there's one side and another side. Did you hear one side yelling predator?
I don't recall.
Did you hear one side yelling, he's looking for little girls?
I believe at one point I heard someone yell that over to our group.
Okay. You don't know whether that's true or not. Agreed?
I didn't give it much thought, but no, I do
You
not
just
know if it's
know-
true or not.
You just know you heard that, correct?
Yes.
Whether it's true or not, that's for somebody else to decide. Agreed?
Agreed.
Did you also hear them screaming when you got over there? We got it on camera. We got it on camera. We got it on camera. Did
No,
you hear
I
that?
did not hear that.
You don't know whether that's true either.
No.
You also heard you said he hit a woman, correct?
Yes.
You don't know whether that's true, do you?
No, I don't. But I mean,
You didn't see it, correct?
correct.
All you know is you heard somebody say something on the right, correct?
Yes.
And if you watch the recording, correct?
Yep.
We've heard lots of things on that recording. Agreed?
Yes.
You don't know whether those things that the people said on the recording are true or not, do you?
No.
If you see it, I would imagine then you know it's true.
Hard not to if you see it.
Agreed. When you spoke with the police, you were asked some questions and you said, on direct, you'd said that you told the police, I punched the guy, correct?
Yes.
And by the guy, you meant Mr. Miu,
Correct.
the one, correct?
Yes.
At that moment, when you told that to the police, you said that because you believed it was true, correct?
Yes.
Now, today, 20 months later, you believe it's not true, correct?
Yes.
And the reason you initially said it, and now, what should I say? The reason it's changed is you've watched the video.
Yes.
Okay. So for whatever reason, you got it wrong to begin with, correct?
Yes.
And you could have got it wrong because you were intoxicated, right?
That could be one reason.
You could have got it wrong because there was a stressful situation, correct?
Yes.
I can't imagine, but you could have got it wrong because you just told an untruth, correct?
Yes.
It doesn't sound like you would tell an untruth to say you punched a guy when you didn't. Make sense?
Yes.
But that could be another reason, correct?
Yes.
Is there any other reason why you would have said something happened when it didn't happen other than those that I've given you?
Well, after, having my memory refreshed with the video, I believe that I thought I had punched him because when he had stabbed me, he was pushed back, and in my memory, everything happened so fast. So I just thought maybe that was me that had done that.
Okay.
And I thought maybe I had punched him.
And on that day, I'm sure you were still processing all kinds of things out, right?
Yes.
And on that day, you hadn't had a chance to watch the video, correct?
Yes.
On that day, when you said those things, you weren't intentionally lying, correct?
No, I was not.
I think as you said already to the jury, like, my memory might be flawed, correct?
Yes.
Just like, probably like anybody else's memory in that sort of situation, correct?
I agree.
You might say things that you don't intend to be a lie, but just are wrong, correct?
Yes.
Because you're trying to explain this traumatic event that happened, correct?
Yes.
The extent of, we saw the picture of you and there was the scratch on your left hip, right?
Yes.
And then there was a bandage on your torso on the left side, correct?
Correct.
Those are all in the front of your body, correct?
Mm.
Your injuries were to the front, correct? The two of you were in contact with each other, facing each other, correct?
Yes.
And the extent of your injury in that situation was you got 2 stitches, correct?
I don't remember how many stitches I had.
I told you the medical record said 2 stitches, would you have anything reason to disagree with that?
I don't remember, so no.
Sound about right?
Yes.
And what we saw in the video, do you have a memory of that, or are you just telling us what you saw in the video? Let me back up. That was a poor question. I want to ask you about the time just before you put your hands on Mr. Miu, okay?
Okay.
Do you have a memory of that, or are you just, for lack of a better term, and maybe there's a better term, narrating what you see on the video?
No, I remember.
Okay, so you remember that he's got his back to you, correct?
Well, I don't necessarily remember that he had his back to me. I do remember separating everybody, though. It
Okay.
wasn't, intended at one person or the other. It was towards everyone to back away.
Okay, so you remember approaching a person, someone, correct?
Yes.
And you put your hands on, one hand was on the person's back, correct?
I mean, I gave him a light tap because there was a lot of yelling, and I was trying to get his attention away from the girls that he was walking towards.
How do you think a normal person would respond if they were in the defendant's position? Getting screamed at, shouted at, punched, pushed into the water face down, hit again, a third time, get up, and then someone comes up behind them and touches their back. You think they might perceive that as a part of the ongoing attack?
I have the screen. You see the image 2942 up there?
Yes.
That's you, correct?
Yes.
That you reaching your left hand out in the direction of what we now know as Mr. Miu, correct?
Yes.
And as I slide forward, that's you pressing your hand up against him, correct?
Yes.
You can see your hand, your fingers making an indentation in his back and his skin.
Light
correct?
touch.
Yes.
And then as we slide through, you put your then right hand on his right upper arm. Agreed?
I can't see that.
You see your right hand there?
Yes, I do.
You see it then going against his arm?
It's blocked from the frame, but
You remember pushing him in that moment?
no,
You would agree that's not gentle what you're doing right now.
I would say it is.
And as you're here, this is where we see your face, correct?
Yes.
Are you now yelling at him?
I don't remember what I was saying at the moment. I do remember,
I understand the content. The volume was yelling. Agreed?
I think I was trying to raise my voice enough to where over everyone else screaming and yelling yes.
So you agree that the volume was yelling. There may be reasons why you wanted to yell, but you agree you were yelling.
Like I said, I don't remember. If you could play it, I could tell you if I was yelling or not. I apologize.
That's all right. And this is where you see your hand now on his upper arm on the right side there?
Yes, I do.
And it's this moment where you have come up from Mr. Miu from behind and put your hands on him, and if not a push, you've certainly pressed against him. Agreed?
Agreed.
And it's in this moment when you're coming up from behind, yelling at him, pressing up against him, he's already was previously down in the water. Agreed?
I mean, I'm not pressing against him here. I was directing him, I guess, away.
All right. Let me just turn the screen off for a moment.
I mean, these witnesses are just so disingenuous. You can see his hand pressing into the defendant's flesh, right? So he's applying force. It doesn't matter what his intent is. It matters how his conduct could reasonably be perceived by the defendant. He could have been acting in all the good faith in the world. He doesn't have to actually be a threat in order for the defendant to be privileged to use force in self-defense. He needs to be reasonably perceived, given the totality of the circumstances. They keep talking about the defendant couldn't have walked away. This guy walked to the fight. I mean, who is he? Imagine if the defendant had run across the river from another location to insert himself into this confrontation.
I want to show you some more pictures of just something before that, okay? This is photo 2831. That's you in the jean shorts? Correct?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
That's Mr. Miu down in the water to your left.
Yes.
You know now as you watch the video that this is the second time he's been pushed down into the water. Agreed?
Yes.
At that time, you also knew, because you remember seeing somebody hit him and pushed him down, and AJ pushed him down. You remember he'd been knocked into the water a second time as well, correct?
Objection, the testimony was he saw.
Oh, no. Come on up.
The judge does not want these two lawyers arguing with each other in front of the jury. You can object, state the basis for your objection, but okay, I guess we're back.
All right, let's continue. Mr. Nelson.
Thank you. So continuing questions here on, at this time, if you can put yourself back, and I understand you might not be able to, you acknowledged that he'd been knocked down into the water 2 times. Fair to say?
At that moment, I did not know he was knocked down 2 times. After rewatching the video, yes.
Okay, so back on July 30th, you know he's down in the water at least, correct?
Yes.
He's down in the water, right?
Yes.
And you're near him, correct?
Yes.
And as I scroll through this, we can see that he reaches his left hand up to grab onto you, correct? That would appear to be?
I didn't know if he was grabbing for me. I don't remember.
You don't know other than it didn't cause you harm, correct?
No, it did not.
It didn't cause you pain, correct?
Correct.
He may have been trying to grab a hand to lift himself up. He may have been trying to push you over. He may have been trying to slap you. You don't know. It just didn't cause you harm. Agreed?
Agreed.
Now, just before this, where we see that, it appears as if somebody's kind of pushing you out of the way. Does that look like that's the case?
I think I was more or less like traveling through the water and walking my way through them.
Sure. And we see a dark arm pressed up against you, correct?
Yes.
And we see you making an expression that appears as if you're not liking whatever contact you're receiving. Agreed?
No, I think at that point I'm yelling
Okay.
or telling people to back off.
You're telling people to back off, right?
Yes, everyone.
Back off, get away from the guy that's down in the water.
I was telling everyone to get back.
Sure. At that point, there's one guy in the water, correct?
Yes, but I wasn't focused on that. I was focused on separating everyone.
And now as we scroll through, Mr. Miu here has the knife in his right hand, correct? You see that?
Yes.
And as you're just before that, that's your foot, that's your body, you're right there, correct?
Yep.
You are not wounded in that moment, correct?
Correct.
You're right near him, correct?
Correct.
He does not reach the knife out and stab you, correct?
Looks like he's trying to hold himself up.
My question was, he doesn't reach out and stab you, agreed?
Agreed.
You don't receive the wound that causes the 2 stitches until after you've approached him from behind and tried to redirect him while you're yelling, correct?
Yes. Correct.
So it's not until you engage with him that he engages with you, agreed?
Agreed.
Nothing else.
Mr. Anderson?
So you told law enforcement you didn't remember a lot of this. Is that right?
Yes.
You didn't tell them you didn't remember anything,
No.
and you did tell them what you did remember.
Yes.
And you said you blanked out a lot, but not all of it.
Yes.
And did you describe the guy who stabbed you to law enforcement?
I don't remember if I did or not.
Would it refresh your memory to see a transcript?
Yes.
Can I approach?
Yes.
Page 2, just read it and look up when you're done. Does that refresh your memory?
Yes.
Did you describe what you could remember about him to law enforcement?
He was wearing cargo shorts.
And you describe his age?
No.
Say, do you describe older or younger?
No.
I'm going to show you again. You actually did say.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes.
Wrong answer.
And do you recall telling law enforcement what you heard specifically when you went over?
I believe I said you never hit a girl, and that's when I reacted.
I mean, before you walked over, like what you heard being yelled that caused people to walk over?
Sorry, I'm getting a bit mixed up here. I don't remember now.
Okay, would it refresh your memory to see the transcript?
Yes.
I'll just have her read it to yourself and then look up when you're done. You might have to turn the page. What page are you on to? Bottom of 2. Thank you. So, did that refresh your memory on what you heard?
It does actually, yes.
What was that?
They did yell help.
And this interview was when you were still at the hospital after being transported there?
Yes. If that is the transcript from this room.
That's the only interview you recall doing with law enforcement, right?
Yes.
Did you describe to law enforcement about when you got stabbed?
I don't remember if I did.
Uh,
It's all right. I apologize.
Yeah,
My
that's
memory is
right.
not.
That's all right. I don't want you to guess.
Can we approach?
Yes.
So now he's just narrating the transcript, which is not what you're supposed to do. If you just can't remember
Judge,
details,
we're just gonna
that's refreshing.
play the interview.
Any objection?
No objection, Judge.
I'll let the clerk know when I'm ready.
Whisper, whisper, whisper. Objection, waste of time will work with this judge. He does not like time wasting.
Okay. Judge, I'm just going to start at 1 o'clock to skip past some personal details they go over.
Fair?
Okay, I'm ready. So starting at the 1 minute mark.
Just kind of formalities that I'd like to everyone know before I ask these questions. I wasn't there, right? So I don't know. Frequently when I talk to people, they say he, she, things like that. If you know their names, please use your name. If it's the person that stabbed you, I'm fine with you using whatever term you want. A lot of people have been saying
the older guy in the cargo shorts. I don't know how this is.
that's perfect. And then if you can add as much detail as you can, even if you think it's something that I don't care about, I might.
I can tell you I don't remember much about. I'll tell you everything.
Okay. And then also, if I say something that's incorrect, feel free to stop me. Say, no, that's not correct, and correct me, okay? And then if I ask you a question that you don't know the answer to, perfectly acceptable to say, I don't know. I don't want you just giving me an answer because I think I want to hear it, okay? Now, it sounds like I just learned that we do have video of the incident, which is good. But I still want to talk to people and ask them their series of events as they portray them, okay? So we can just kind of start from the beginning, go through the middle all the way to the end with as much detail as you can.
Well, like I said, I don't remember a lot, but what I remember from the start, we were just floating down the river, and we were all in our tube at that time. Well, not all of us. Some were just standing up in their tube because it was shallow water, and we just heard someone scream help, and that taught us, someone screamed help, go help, and so my little brother ran over,
And your little brother is Dante.
Sorry, I apologize. Dante Carlson, he ran over, and as soon as I saw him run over, I got up and started to run over because he's my little brother. And when I got up out of my tube, my friend AJ Martin, the one that had his stomach, his legs open, he ran with me, and he got there before me, and he tried to grab the guy, and the guy, I thought he just punched him, but he swung and sliced his stomach, and then I went to go and grab his arm because I didn't want to have him punch me. I didn't even know there was a knife in his hand, and I went to grab his hand. His hand stopped. I stopped his hand here, and I felt something. I had adrenaline rushing through me, so I didn't really think twice of it. And I punched the guy and ran away from him. And I turned around and I see my friend literally with his stomach in his hands, and I ran over to help him.
And that was AJ?
Yep, AJ. Sorry. And I went and grabbed AJ. There was, I don't remember who was with me. There was some girl, just a random girl I came with, and she came over and helped carry him to the shore practically, and lay him down, and I sat with him and kept his head held up, and then that was pretty much it until the paramedics came by and they took him, and then they took me, and that's all I remember. But I know it's not a lot. I wish I could help more.
Why, and I don't mean this in a demeaning way or whatever, but why do you think that you can't remember a lot? Just the stress, the trauma? Did you get some medication or something?
I took Pepra, and I have seizures. Okay. And so the entire time that it was happening, I was on the verge of having a seizure. Every time I have one, I just don't remember anything. I was blanking out.
How do you feel right now? Do you feel okay now?
I mean, I'm fine. I took my Pepra and everything, and I just, I'm just shaking, but I'm fine now.
And where were you? Let me get to my right page. I assume your injuries are all bandaged up now, right?
Yeah, he just got me right here with it, and then I think that's what happened when I went to block it, and then when he tried to actually grab it, and that's when I pushed his hand down. That's when it hit me right here. I can't tell you.
You might be a little bit.
But yeah, and then they couldn't stitch it completely closed because otherwise it could cause infection and such. So they just put 2 stitches in it, called it good. But yeah, no, they said that my ribs stopped the knife, I guess, from entering anymore.
Do you mind if I take a quick photo of that?
No, this fine.
Right, Judge. That's exhibit 78.
Okay, 78 is marked and received.
I don't have anything else.
Mr. Nelson?
Briefly,
You talked about it in that interview, and I just want to make sure your dad told you to go over there, correct?
I'm sorry, what?
When you were in the tubes, before you went over to the other group, where there was a bunch of people that you said, right? Before you went there, your dad had told you something. Agreed?
Yes.
And what your dad told you was, go make sure they don't attack that guy. That's what your dad told you.
I don't remember what he said exactly.
Okay, thank you. That's all.
Thank you, Mr. Carlson. You may step down. Is he released?
No.
All right, please see the witness coordinator in the back. She'll tell you what to do next. Who is the next witness?
Riley Madison. Judge, could we take a short recess?
How much time do you need?
Less than 5 minutes?
Sure, why not? 5-minute recess. Please take the jury out.
All rise for the jury.
We will resume at 9:10.
All right. Well, now I also know why my witness count was off by one, because they had Madison Cohen, the supposedly punched girl, testify off camera. All right. I'll take this chance to remind everybody of our upcoming Law of Self-Defense Advanced class. We only teach this twice a year. Full day class taught live by me, streamed to your computer. Everything you need to know to be hard to convict if you're ever compelled to defend yourself, your family, or property, all in one day. I guarantee you, Nicolae Miu wishes he had taken this class before going tubing on July 30th, 2020. Right now, it's still half off registration, lawofselfdefense.com/advance. We only teach it twice a year, folks. It'll be October at best before we do it again. Don't miss this one. It's too late to take the course after you're attacked, and you don't control when you're attacked. The bad guy does that. lawofselfdefense.com/advanced. Take a quick look at comments and questions. Yeah, I was going to come back without a tie because I was going to be live streaming from home, but we had company at home. We got a bunch of kids over, so it would have been a little too noisy. So I'm back in the office. Yeah, so the question isn't really whether the defendant was actually surrounded, but would a reasonable person in the circumstances have perceived that he was surrounded? I mean, there's 13 people. It's almost hard not to perceive that you're being surrounded. And it's dynamic. People are moving around. You're moving around. You're getting knocked down. You're getting back up. You're getting hit again. Are we getting to the point where the jury's bored? I certainly find it boring. I mean, the direct is almost always boring. This was not the best cross-examination by Nelson, by the way. I don't think he did well with this witness. He got very frustrated. All right, let's see if there's any super chats. That was the members. Super chats need to be $10, folks. And there are a couple. Okay. Jenny LJ, $10, didn't even put a question. Well, thank you, Jenny. That's very kind of you. Farm Girl Rebel, $10 super chat. Thank you very much. Is there a reason that Madison Cohen's testimony isn't available as a transcript? Well, generally, you can't get court transcripts like mid-trial like this. It's at least I can't get one, so I don't know. Eventually, I would think it's available. But I don't recall the details of Marcy's law. It's still a public trial. So in some manner, it has to be publicly accessible. Not that I would have believed a word that came out of her mouth anyway. I mean, we're talking about this chick. I mean, you know, a beer in one hand, vape in the other, cell phone tucked in a bathing suit, screaming like this. I don't know. Take that one home to mom, I guess. All right, caught up with everything. So let's fast forward. Whoops. Oh my God, looks like another. This looks like meth. All right. Here we go.
Shoulder area before that happens.
No, because he was facing him.
Okay.
Well, I don't know who this is. We just popped into the middle. Oh, did I hit the wrong thing, huh? I did. That's on me. All right. Sorry. My mistake.
Okay. Please come forward. That's good. Face the clerk. Raise your right hand. She will administer the oath.
Do you swear that the testimony you're about to give in this matter shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? I do.
Please have a seat in the witness chair. Mr. Anderson.
Can you please state your first and last name and spell both?
Riley Madison, RYHLEY MATTISON.
And Riley, how old are you?
I am 25,
Oh my God. Look at
And
that.
How tall are you?
5'5",
And how much do you weigh?
about 110 pounds.
That looks like meth to me. I don't
Were
know.
you
Of
about the
course.
same in July of 2022?
Maybe 115.
Were you tubing on the river that day with friends?
I was.
And were you drinking alcohol?
I was.
Using any other substances?
I was smoking marijuana.
And do you believe you're intoxicated?
I do, yes.
Was that your first time tubing on the river?
I've been on the river before, but I've started at different points with friends, so I've never really been on that part of the river.
Okay. If your medical records say, well, let's see. What do you remember at some point along the river that something catching your group's attention?
Not specifically mine. I was just kind of hanging out with my friends on the tube, and we had stopped. And so I kind of asked why we were stopping. And I heard somebody mention something about a group looking uncomfortable. I hadn't got off right away, so.
Did you walk over after some other folks?
I did. I kind of was like, what's going on? And then I had told Janelle, like, let's kind of go over there and see what's going on.
And what do you remember everything sequentially perfectly, or is it?
It's very choppy for me.
Okay. So what do you remember next?
I remember getting off the tube, walking up to Mr. Miu, and I just remember Maddie being there and yelling at him. I remember her being punched in the face, and then I remember being stabbed, and that is completely it.
So you don't remember, did you see or don't you remember anyone else stabbed?
No, stabbed, and that is,
Did you-
I remember her being punched in the face, and then I remember being stabbed, and that is completely it.
So you don't remember, did you see or don't you remember anyone else stabbed?
No,
Then do you know if it's because you don't remember, you didn't see, or?
I think I was just focused on myself, doing what I was doing. I was not really paying attention to anybody else at all.
And when you saw Madison get punched, can you explain that in as much details as you remember?
I barely really remember that part. I just remember him staring at us and then not saying anything and punching her. And I was just like shocked, like, oh my God. And that right after that, I literally remember being stabbed, and that's it. So.
With him punching her, do you remember any more details than that? Like what hand he used or how the punch was?
Not at all.
And what else do you remember about you getting stabbed?
I just remember seeing Nick's face very blank and not lunging at me, but just kind of poking me. And I held my side and I was like, ow, like, Janelle, I think he punched me. That really hurt. Like, and I looked down and I was bleeding out and holding my stomach, and it just like didn't feel real. Like it was just a lot of shock. And from there, I was walking around the river asking for help, like just asking somebody to help me. I told Q that I felt like I was dying because I just was losing so much blood. And every time I'd walk, I just felt like I was getting weaker and weaker. So another group down the river had put me on a tube and kind of pushed me down to kind of get away from the scene. And then they were holding my side and just kind of keeping me awake. And then when the cops had showed up, they took me off of the tube and put me on the ground. And I just remember like Janelle coming over, you know, asking me to stay awake, and the cops trying to ask me what my name was, and then just being put in the ambulance and going to the hospital.
And when you touched your side, do you remember feeling anything?
No, I thought I was punched or something. I didn't really know. I wasn't really paying attention, and it really didn't hurt. But when I looked down, I was instantly like, I believe I was holding my stomach. I think Janelle was coming to help me to hold my stomach and hold my side. And then just blood kind of going. And I didn't want to look down because it freaked me out. And I didn't really want to touch it either because I just didn't want to feel anything. So I kind of just barely held my hand on it. I just didn't want to feel it.
Do you remember telling law enforcement that you felt like something was coming out of the wound when you touched it?
I don't remember that.
And did you have any, so after you were brought on the tube to shore, you said people were telling you to stay awake?
Yeah, like just kind of asking questions and like my name, like who are you, just kind of what's going on, anything that would make me stay awake. And I just remember being super tired, and I'm like, I just want to be left alone.
Did you have trouble breathing at all?
Not right away, slowly but surely I did. And then once I got in the ambulance and actually got to the hospital, I like felt like I couldn't breathe at all. But it took a little time before that to actually like happen for me. I don't know if I didn't realize it right away, but.
And where were you brought, if you remember, when you were brought to shore? Were you brought to the grass, the pavement?
I was laid right on the blacktop because I remember saying, oh my God, like this burns my back. I remember the bridge, so I know it was right before like the bridge, but I don't like know exactly where, but I know it was up right on the asphalt, I believe on the road that like the cops would drive on and the ambulance and everything.
And were there officers or an officer there with you?
I believe I had one officer helping me kind of put pressure on my side and talking to me, yes.
Permission to approach?
Yes.
Anyone that's been marked as Exhibit 68. Is that?
Oh no. I wonder if those tears are in crystalline form.
Is that a photo, or is that an image of you on the blacktop? Yeah. Should I move to admit and publish 68?
No objection. 68 is received. Go ahead and publish.
I'm going to do it digitally.
Did you mean on your laptop?
Yes. I'll tell you when I'm ready. Okay.
Sorry. I wonder if that water in her water bottle is actually Tito's, you know, like when you go tubing.
Oh, fuck.
Oh, the F word just went over the air. I'll rewind it so we can all enjoy the experience. Hold on.
Okay.
Oh, fuck.
You can take it down. Riley, at some point were you transported away from the scene?
Yes.
Do you remember how?
An ambulance.
Were you brought to a hospital?
Yes.
And did you go immediately into surgery?
I believe so, yes. I just remember the ambulance telling me there's going to be a lot of people asking me questions. And I just remember being put on a bed, and that's literally all I remember. I mean, them asking me kind of, you know, who you are, what's your name, what's your birthday, and I wouldn't answer, and I just kept saying I couldn't breathe. And that was the last thing I remember.
Until after surgery?
Yeah, I barely even remember waking up from surgery.
Permission to approach?
Yes.
Is it true her blood alcohol level was 1.0? Perfect score.
Handed you what's been marked as Exhibit 33. What's that?
That is the incision where the doctors had to cut me up to put my stomach back in.
I move to admit and publish.
We approach.
Yes.
Always have money for the tats though, for the sleeve. There's always money for that. Oh, both arms. Well, at least you can pass them on to our kids. Guess it could have been worse. Could have been a head injury. There's not much you can afford to lose, I don't think. Someone in the comments said her BAC was actually like 0.228, which would be on par with everybody else involved here. You know, 0.2 or above, or very nearly 0.2. Legal limit's 0.08 for driving, so we're 2-3 times the legal limit.
79.
In fairness, they weren't driving, right? They were floating. So I don't know if there's a blood alcohol limit for tubing. I wouldn't think so. I mean, there is for riding a bicycle. I'm not sure about tubing.
Judge, we have no objection to the introduction and evidence of Exhibit 33 and Exhibit 79, and no objection to publication.
All right, so 33 is received and may be published, and 79 is in your hand?
Yes.
All right, 79 is received.
All right, can we have the screen? And for the record, this is 79. And Riley, what are we seeing in this photo?
That is, the bigger one is the stab wound, and the little one is from a chest tube.
And how about in this one?
This is the one where they had to cut me open to get my stomach put back in.
And so like here where the mouse is, that's from surgery.
That's all from surgery, and then the staples.
And then on over here.
Yep.
What's that?
The incision wound?
This stitch is right here. Is that the stab
Yep,
wound?
that's the stab wound.
The one we looked at?
Prior, yep.
Okay. Oh, and are you in the photo? Are you taking this in a mirror?
Yes,
So which side is the wound actually on?
on my left side.
So it's reversed in this photo.
Yes.
You can turn off the screen. And I think you testified that you remember him looking at you and then reaching over. Do you recall telling law enforcement you don't remember if you hit him or said something to make him angry?
I do remember saying that. I think I was trying to maybe find a reason why he did what he did to me. Or, after he had hit Maddie, if I had maybe put my hands on him because he had hit Maddie. I think I was just finding a reason.
Do you, from what you remember of being stabbed, do you have any memory of actually hitting him or saying anything?
I don't remember saying anything, hitting him, touching him, nothing.
I'm going to go through some slides with you. There's some still frames from the video.
Oh, sorry, folks. I was just pointing at her name. That's how you spell Riley. That's the Riley. And I thought her last name was Madison, like Madison Cohen, but it's Mattison, Mattison. I was saying Riley, but that spelling. I mean, let's face it, folks. You name your kid with that spelling, they're doomed. I mean, yeah, that's not a good sign. Riley, of course. I mean, I'm not the kind of person to suggest that's like a stripper spelling or anything, but somebody might suggest that. This how some of these people spell their names. It's like a Scrabble game. Remember that old game Scrabble with the little dice with the letters on it, and you'd shake up the cup. Why?
All right, I'm on 2496. I'm ready. Riley, are you in that photo or that image?
Yes.
Okay. Is that your arm there?
Yes.
Okay. Can you turn off the screen? I'm going to go to a different one. All right, I'm ready. And I'm on 2458.
Right. Boggle is what I was thinking of. Sorry, not Scrabble. Boggle. Good old Boggle.
And I'm going to scroll through. And actually, your arm again?
Yes.
Stopping on 2470. What are you doing in this image?
I'm not sure if I'm just touching his shoulder, if I'm going to push him.
$24.92. Have you removed your hand at this point?
Yes.
Did you see a push?
I mean, kind of like a little, I guess I don't know what to call it, but just kind of maybe brushing his shoulder. I guess.
If the state wanted to, they'd be calling this a battery. They'd be calling this a criminal battery. Unwanted touching of another person. Unwanted offensive touching of another person. But of course, the state doesn't want to call it a battery. She's just a little innocent observer here, not at all involved. Can't imagine why he might have thought that she was using force on him. Is that close enough to be in someone's face? If you're not my intimate partner and you're this close to me, you're in my space.
Push, yes.
Do you want to see it again?
Objection. Cumulative.
Sustain.
And a back, look at the big back tattoo. Had the mermaid tattoo. There we see a neat shot of the knife. He's holding it there. He's got, of course, the grip of the knife, and then he's got his fingers by the pointy end. And look at these chicks. Are they in his face? Would this qualify as being in someone's face? What's he doing here to bother anybody? This defendant, these two drunk, high, sketchy broads in this old guy's face. Fortunately, they're accompanied by a bunch of men who are also screaming at him.
Pausing on 2531. Did you see the knife in his hands when you're standing there?
Don't remember.
Is that your, do you know if that's your hand or Maddie's
No,
hand?
that is Maddie's hand.
Okay. How do you tell the nail polish?
Yeah, I don't wear nail polish.
So Madison Cohen is touching him too.
And do you see yourself in that image, 2662?
I do.
To the left of Dante?
I do.
To the right of Maddie?
Yes.
Can we mute this, turn off the screen? I'm gonna go to another image.
Yeah, you don't want the jury focusing on that image. Why do you think nobody saw the knife? He's plainly holding in his hand. Because everyone's drunk and high as a skunk. And righteous. And they're dealing, there's a bunch of them. They're dealing with one old man. What do they have to worry about?
We have the screen. This is 2861. Riley, do you see yourself in this image?
I do.
Where are you?
I am standing right behind Nicolae Miu.
What color swimsuit?
Blue with flowers.
I'm going to scroll. Stopping on 2948. Do you see yourself in this image?
I do.
Holding your side?
I do.
And you keep scrolling. And you said one of your friends came to your aid after you were stabbed?
Yes, Janelle.
Is she in this photo?
She is. She is in the black swimming suit.
Okay, I'm gonna keep scrolling. Do you remember retreating or recoiling from Nicolae at that point or no?
What do you mean by that?
In these, I'll back up a little bit.
Okay.
So I'm on 3017.
Like running away?
Yes.
Yes.
You can turn off the screen. Thank you. Do you remember Nicolae saying anything at all when you're standing in front of him?
Not one word.
Did you have any indication or Did you see anything, hear anything to indicate if he was with a group?
I had no idea who he was. I didn't know if he was a part of the group we were going to. I had absolutely no idea.
I don't have anything else.
Mr. Nelson?
Yes, thank you, Judge. Morning.
Good morning.
I want to ask you some questions about your intoxication and your memory, okay?
Okay.
You've made lots of statements in this case. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
You've spoke to the police a couple of times, correct?
Yes.
You've spoke to Care 11 News, correct?
Yes.
You spoke with Fox 9 News, correct?
Yes.
And one of the things I think you've consistently said in all of those statements to the police, to the news, is you're basically like, I was drinking a lot. I don't remember much. Fair to say?
Correct.
And the reason that you consistently said that is because that's the truth, correct?
Correct.
You were drinking a lot, right?
Correct.
You were intoxicated, correct?
Correct.
You were also smoking the marijuana.
Correct.
And that, I'm sure, impacted your ability to perceive things as well as remember things. Agreed?
Agreed.
And I think what you've used different words to say, like, things are blurry, correct?
Yeah, I think I just have kind of like a specific patchy spot that I've been trying to figure out what happened in that little spot.
Sure. But the words that you use, I think you used on direct, like you see chunks almost, right?
Right.
And then also what I'm gathering is the chunks that you do see, those are blurry.
Yeah,
And then in between the blurry chunks, there's just blank spaces.
correct.
Okay. And you don't know whether those blank spaces in your memory are because of intoxication, correct?
Correct.
Or perhaps because of, imagine that was a stressful event for you.
Yes.
Even before you were cut with a knife, you lacked some memory before that, correct?
Yes.
And I would imagine some of that before that was a little bit stressful, correct?
Yes.
Obviously, the stress increased once you were injured, right?
Yes.
But nevertheless, the stress that you were under may have caused you to not remember certain things, correct?
Correct.
You've probably talked with lots of your friends about this event, correct?
We've talked. Yes.
This was, and then again, I'm not trying to judge, just in fairness, this is a life-changing event for you, right?
Correct.
And for your group of friends, correct?
Correct.
Imagine when you get together, you chat about it,
Yes.
right? People share their experience, correct?
Correct.
And maybe you help each other process what the experience was, correct?
I wouldn't say necessarily process it, just kind of, I mean, the beginning, it was more of like, this is what I remember, like, you know, what do you remember? I wouldn't say we were trying to give each other answers, but
Understood. But you had gaps in your memory, correct?
yes.
And again, you don't get into specific, but other people, when you were talking to that were there, they had gaps in their memory.
Yes.
And so sometimes you would share information with each other to try and maybe fill in the gaps, correct?
Sometimes yes, but I never really took what they said and put it together. I just remembered what I remembered in.
And I appreciate that. You've been very clear about that. But I just want to make sure that we know that you've got other information, right?
Yes.
And part of that is because you want to know what happened, correct?
Correct.
And there's still some things as you sit here today that you don't know, correct?
Yeah, kind of doesn't make sense.
Yeah. All right. And just the human condition, at least for you, is you want to try to make sense of it, correct?
Yes.
And sometimes I would imagine, like the rest of us, you use deduction to try to put things together, correct?
Yes.
Even if you don't necessarily have a memory, you try to deduce what it is that happened, right?
Yes.
And so here in court, when we were talking, I'm going to try to focus on the memory. Does that make sense?
Okay.
Because some of the things you might have said or you might talk about are from things that you think because you've deduced it. Would that be fair?
I guess.
Sure. Well, let's talk about this. Like one of the issues in the case is what happened to Matt, right?
Yes.
And one of the first things that you told the police is you said, quote, I thought he slapped her because, like I said, it was just kind of not comprehending. You said that to the police, correct?
I don't remember, but if I did, yes.
And since then, you've said she was punched, correct?
That is correct.
And today, when you were asked, tell us the details of that, you were like, I just want to make sure I get it correctly. You said, no, not at all. I don't remember the details.
I don't.
And you've been very honest about that. We appreciate that. What I'm not trying to make sure is that when you say you don't remember the details, like you don't have a picture in your head about Maddie getting punched, correct?
I shouldn't have said punch because I don't remember if it was a punch or a slap, but I do remember her being hit in the face.
Okay, so Mr. Muse had some sort of contact with his hand to her face, correct? You don't remember which hand it was.
I do not.
You don't remember the context under which it was, correct?
I do not.
You don't remember if it was in response to something that she had done, correct?
Correct.
And right now, as you say that, you don't have an image, a picture in your mind about what it is that happened, correct?
Correct.
Fair to say, and again, that what you're telling us is you kind of deduced that something happened to Maddie based upon all of the other circumstances, correct?
I know I saw Maddie get hit.
Okay. And when you say you know you saw Maddie get hit, you can't put a picture in your mind that you can tell us, though.
I cannot. I just know, even waking up from surgery, like my story was, I remember that.
Sure. And your original story was, at first, I thought he slapped her.
Like I said, I don't know if it was a slap or a punch. So.
Okay, just some sort of contact.
Correct.
So I want to walk through some of the things before that. And I know you may or may not have a memory. So we've got the video, right?
Yes.
And you've been shown that video before? Yes?
Sorry.
And you've been shown some of the slides before?
Yes.
And by slides, I mean, we broke the video up into different frames. I call them slides. Does that make sense?
Yes. I just kind of really saw the video. I haven't really seen a whole lot of the slides other than yesterday when I was here.
Okay. Yesterday, somebody showed you some slides?
No, up on the screen when you guys were doing them.
As you were just here watching the trial?
Correct.
Which you have a right to do. And that's when the first time you saw the slides come through,
Yes.
correct? But before that, you haven't been shown the slides.
No, just the video, basically the part of myself.
And you, just to kind of, I want to get us into the space that I think is the important space when you're right in front of him.
Okay.
And so if I get there too quickly, tell us. But
Okay.
Maddie and Dante are there first, correct? When I say there, let me back up. There's a group of 6 teenage males, correct?
Yes.
And then there's Mr. Miu, correct?
Correct.
And then you're in a group, which we'll call the Carlson Cone group. Is that fair?
Okay.
And there's about 11 people in that group, correct?
Correct.
Of your group, the first 2 people that leave your group to join the other group are Madison Cohen and Dante Carlson, right?
Correct.
At some point, you go over and join Madison and Dante, correct?
Correct.
Prior to that, do you have a memory of what you observed?
I did not observe anything. I remember coming down the river and our tubes being stopped. And like I said, I just asked what was kind of going on, why we're being stopped. We literally just got back on our tubes. Why are we stopping again? And I heard, I don't know who, but somebody say a group looks uncomfortable.
Okay.
I did not hear anything coming from the back of us from the group. I didn't even see the group. I was not even paying attention to them. I was just hanging out with my friends.
You didn't hear anybody call for help, correct?
I did not hear anything.
And I think what you told the police in one of your interviews is you even questioned some of your friends, like, why are we intervening?
Yeah, well, I kind of asked Janelle, like, what's going on? What are they doing? And then I was like, let's just get up and kind of go see.
Okay. So at some point, you and Janelle and Gabby, you're the next 3 people that joined Madison and Dante. Is that right?
I'm not sure if Gabby came with us, but Janelle and I for sure did.
Okay. And do you remember there was a time when you were walking over there? Do you remember Nick Miu standing up and looking upriver and waving his hand?
I do not.
And do you remember then that as soon as that got done happening, Madison Cohen turned to you and Janelle and she waved her arm to have you guys come over?
I don't remember that, but maybe that is why we got up.
Does that make sense to you why you went there? Is because Madison's like,
yes.
come on over here, right?
Yeah.
And then you went over, correct?
Yes.
And then there were times that we've seen in the video where you're standing in front of Mr. Miu, correct?
Correct.
Prior to your getting there, would it be fair to say that Madison Cohen was yelling at Mr. Miu?
I mean, I didn't hear, like I said, I didn't hear anything. I had no idea the scene.
Did you see her standing in his space?
No. Until I got over there, yes.
Once you got over there, you then saw her standing in his space.
Yes.
And you then saw her and probably heard her yelling at him, correct?
Yeah, I can't really, like I said, I don't make out what she said specifically, but yes.
So you don't know the content, but you know the volume was high.
Yes.
And would it be fair to say that she was in his face?
Yes.
And at some point, as we saw in there, you went up and stood next to Madison, essentially right in front of Mr. Miu as well, correct?
Correct.
And Dante was, if you're here, Madison's next to you, Dante's over in this area, fair to say?
I did not remember Dante being even around us. I just remember it being Maddie and I, and then Janelle.
Okay. And you remember, as we saw on the screen, that when you're standing there, essentially you weren't asking questions, right?
I don't think I asked questions. I might have yelled, the same things they were yelling, but I don't remember.
And so while you went over there with the intent to figure out what was going on, as soon as you got there and you saw Maddie doing something, you basically joined her, right?
I think that's exactly what I did, yes.
Yeah, you just, whatever my friend is doing, I'm going to join her and do the same thing, correct?
Not just Maddie, but everybody else kind of yelling. I think maybe I was listening to everybody else yelling, and I just kind of
Join the crowd.
joined the crowd, yeah.
Yep. That's sometimes what happens in a crowd.
Yes.
You agree?
Yes.
And when you joined the crowd in that situation we saw on there, that's when you reached out and started putting your hands on Mr. Miu, correct?
I don't remember putting my hands on him, but in the video, yes.
You saw yourself, and as you described it, you kind of pushed him, is I think the words that you used, right?
Yeah, I mean, I can't really tell. I just see my hand, on his shoulder, and I don't really see him fall back or anything,
Yeah.
but.
But it moves his person, not his feet.
Right.
Right. And then I don't know if do you remember then standing next to you as you're doing that with the left hand, Madison Cohen is putting her right hand on his left shoulder and pushing him back as well.
Correct.
And that, I think on the still frames, it's hard to know, but that's at around the 144-second mark. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And it's at about 145 where we see the picture of Mr. Miu standing there with the knife in his hand in front of him, correct?
Yes.
So he's not hiding it, agreed?
Agreed.
You, for whatever reason, didn't see it, correct?
Correct.
And it's while he's standing there holding the knife, that's the time that you're pushing him on the one side, and then just after that, Madison Cohen's pushing him on the other side, correct?
I believe so.
And it's right around there too, in the middle of that, where he raises his left hand and calls back to his upriver to other people, correct?
I mean, in the video, yes, but I don't remember
Okay.
that.
In that moment,
Doesn't object on the line of question. I think the video speaks for itself.
He's entitled to ask questions. Overruled.
in that moment, did you understand that the man that you're standing in front of, who's looking past you, is waving to people behind you?
I did not.
Okay. Did you ever think, hey, maybe I should just let him go in that direction?
I mean, I'm 110 pounds. I feel like he could have walked right past me.
He could have, right? You don't know who was to your left, correct?
Correct.
There's a group of 6 teenagers there.
Correct.
And those 6 teenagers are screaming, predator, 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 correct?
I didn't hear that, but in the video, yes.
And to your right is Madison Cohen.
Correct.
And somewhere around in that area is Dante Carlson,
Correct.
Anthony Carlson,
Correct.
AJ Martin, correct?
Correct.
So it wasn't just you, 110-pound.
No, but at that moment, it was Maddie and I, so I just mean he could have walked around, but
At least that's what's captured on the camera,
Right.
correct? We've seen some other. I have exhibit 104. Hold on a second. Have permission to publish 104, Judge?
Yes.
I get the same vibe from this witness, like when we watched Amber Heard in the Johnny Depp trial, and it looked like she was, doing a little pinky nails of coke on the witness stand. It was just little old me.
This is exhibit.
Shouldn't she said I weigh 115 pounds and 1 gram?
Exhibit number 10. Oops, I got it.
My understanding is the defendant's been in jail since this happened, got $1 million bail and couldn't make it. So he's spent the last 21, 22 months sitting in jail, waiting for trial.
You said you were here in court yesterday.
I was.
Did you see exhibit number 105 when we talked about that?
I believe so. There's been a lot, so
Sure.
yes.
And you can't see on here, but this is from frame 2592 at 1:49. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So is this 105 or 104?
This is 104, Judge. Thank
Okay.
you. I apologize. Okay. And you see the red circle with JC in it with an arrow around it,
I
correct?
do.
That appears to be about the camera angle, correct?
Yes.
So again, there may have been other people not in the photo, but there'd be around that area, correct?
Correct.
You have no reason to disagree with the positioning of people in this at that time, correct?
Correct.
So after he gestures to other people, you guys continue to stand in front of him, correct?
I believe so.
And this is where, again, something happens and you don't have a memory of it, or you're like, he had contact with her face in some way, right?
Correct.
And you don't necessarily know the context of that, right?
Correct.
I want to, hold on a second, switch to my computer and yes. I want to show you some photos here starting at 2643, okay?
Okay.
The person Is that you in the bikini bottom with the tattoo on your right leg?
Correct.
And then we can see a bit of blonde hair and an elbow here. Is that Madison Cohen?
I think so. Yes.
Okay. And as I scrolled through, that shows then Madison Cohen, correct?
Correct.
And then I'm going to scroll forward to
There she is.
2655. Do you see that?
Yes.
At least is 2655. I'm going to move one more, I believe. Is this your elbow underneath Maddie's left hand,
Yes.
which is holding the can?
Yes, I believe so.
That's your elbow?
Yeah.
So in this moment in time at 2656, we have to watch the video.
So this is when Dante's punching the defendant across the face and knocking him into the water. He's just thrown the punch. Dante is the guy on the right hand side here.
You're in between Mr. Miu and Madison Cohen. Agreed?
Right here. Yes.
And so is Dante Carlson. He's in between Madison Cohen and Mr. Miu, correct?
Correct.
All right. And you don't have a memory of exactly where people were or what happened just before this, other than Mr. Miu's hand went to her face in some manner, correct?
Correct.
I'm going to just scroll forward here to get to some other pictures quick. Okay, before I get to the next section here, just the photos that we saw before, you were essentially leaning in towards Mr. Miu, correct?
Correct.
And then after that, we're going to see a photo where you're, if we can actually pull it up now, 2857. That's your leg with a bikini bottom behind Mr. Miu, correct?
Correct.
So in between the photo that we saw and this photo, you don't remember what you were doing, correct?
I have no idea. No.
There's nothing to indicate that you were tending to your friend Maddie Carlson, correct?
Correct.
Because as we saw in the photo before this, you weren't actually going to your friend, you were going to Mr. Miu, correct?
In the photo, it looks like that. Yes.
So whatever happened to your friend, it wasn't something that caused you to say, I better take care of her.
I think I just was shocked that he had hit her. So I don't, like I said, I don't know if I reacted. I don't really know what I said. I don't know.
Whatever it was, you didn't focus your attention on your friend,
I did
correct?
not.
Obviously, this is somebody that you care for, right?
Yes.
You worry about her, right?
Yes.
And if you were worried for her safety, you might have had an instinct to turn to her right away, correct?
Correct. And I don't know if I did say something right away and then just.
All we know is what's in the photo, and that is you don't turn your attention to her, you're focusing your attention on Mr. Miu, correct? So now in 2857, you're behind Mr. Miu, correct? Your back is to him,
Yes.
and his back is to you, correct? Right.
Hey, for all the meth and stripper jokes, she comes across as perhaps the most credible, meaning attempting to be genuinely honest witness I've seen the state put on the stand so far.
I want to just go through these quickly here, the next couple of slides, okay? We want to focus on what you're doing then. I'm going to ask you some questions, okay?
Okay.
So you came out of the last frame that you're in is 2866. Do you agree?
Yes.
So I'm going to go back to 2858. As we scroll through, does it appear as if you are turning around your body?
Yes.
And you would be then going back in a direction towards Mr. Miu, correct?
I don't believe that I did. No.
Okay. Well, you're turning, let me go back again.
I'm turning around. Yes. I don't know where I'm going though.
So we agree that you turn around, correct?
Well, yes.
We don't know how far you turn around, correct?
Correct.
We know at some point that you and Mr. Miu are really close, correct?
Yes. I believe he walked up to me though.
Okay. And when you say believe, you don't have a memory of it, correct?
Correct. But I've seen the video a lot and I'm not facing the way he's facing. I'm facing the opposite way.
Okay. And we're going to go through that. But just as we go through this right now, this isn't a memory you have,
Right,
correct?
correct.
This is, again, something that you've used your deduction to try to figure out what happened, correct?
Correct.
And the story that you've, I want to say told yourself, but is that fair?
Yeah.
The story you've told yourself is he came up to me, correct?
Not came up to me, but we were standing in front of him, and I thought after the punch with Maddie, I thought he stabbed me right after that.
Okay. And so, but when you were saying like, I didn't walk up to him, that's something that's not a memory. That's just you're doing some deduction to
Right.
get there, correct?
Correct.
The story that you've told yourself.
Correct.
And in that, what you've told other people was he was close enough to literally where he just put his hand up and kind of poked me on the side, right?
Correct.
You said that to the news station, agreed?
Correct.
You'd also said to the police, this isn't in relation to anything. You just volunteered this information. I don't know if I reacted like hitting at him or yelling at him.
That's
Correct.
correct.
And then you said he poked me, correct?
Correct.
And then you'd said, I think as well to the police, I was close enough that he could pretty much go like that. Agreed?
Correct.
And when you did that, you're on the video, you've got your right hand and you move your right hand, I think like maybe 3 inches forward. Is that fair?
Yeah.
Is that a fair demonstration of what you did when you said he went like that?
Yes.
Am I doing that correctly?
Yes.
So when Mr. Anderson demonstrated something before and he swung his arm around, that's not accurate.
I wouldn't say that's not accurate. I just
That's
felt
not
like it was literally a poke in my side.
Sure. And the poke in your side is on your left side, correct?
Correct.
And it's, if you, could you just for a moment, can you stand for a
Yes.
moment? And again, obviously keep your jacket on, right? Can you just touch on your, with your right hand where it is?
Right here.
Okay. Fair to say that as you stand there right, how you are right now, your left arm is protecting that area.
Yes.
And if you raise your left arm, push it up, raise the shoulder, is that area now exposed?
Yes.
Is it now vulnerable to being cut?
Yes.
Is it vulnerable to being cut where you're at right now?
No.
No. And so from deduction, would you agree that maybe your hand was outstretched towards him in that moment?
I do not agree to that.
Sustained.
Okay. You don't have a memory of it.
I do not.
All you know is you couldn't have done it when your hand's down at your side, correct?
She's already said that, but
Okay.
let's move on.
I think it's an appropriate objection by the state, but it doesn't matter. The jury heard it. They watched this demonstration.
Nothing else. Thank you. Oh, I apologize. Yes, I do have something else. Sorry. Sorry. We could go back to the slides here. There's one other thing I want to ask you about.
Okay.
Yes, please. So this is 2859 where we talked about before. I want to focus on something else though, okay?
Okay.
As I move forward here, I want to ask if you remember Maddie behind you. Is this in the green suit? Is that Gabby?
Correct.
Do you see a leg with a navy blue swimsuit bottom?
I do.
Was Maddie wearing a navy blue swimsuit bottom?
Yes,
I think that's Maddie.
I do.
In that photo, does it look like you're tending to her?
Not at that moment.
And in fact, this is the stretch where we see you turn around, correct?
Correct.
You're actually turning away from her, correct?
Correct. It looks like she's walking the opposite
Yeah.
way.
So whatever was going on with Maddie, you weren't worried about it. You were going in a different direction.
At that point, yes.
And if we can have the slides off here. You put the slide back on, thank you. This is slide 2969. That's you after he'd made that little jabbing motion towards you, correct?
Correct.
This is you with the injury that we just talked about.
Correct.
Can you see your friend Janelle there in the background?
Yeah.
She's clearly reacting to you, correct?
Correct.
And then she goes and she gives you attention, for lack of a better term, correct?
Correct.
It's at that point that Janelle was, prior to that, you can take it down. Prior to that, Janelle was turned facing towards Mr. Miu and kind of everybody. She was kind of in the background. Is that right?
Yes.
You didn't see Janelle go tend to Maddie Cohen, correct?
I don't remember.
What we know is when you were injured, she went and tended to you, correct?
Correct.
But prior to that, she's not tending to any other women. Agreed?
Correct.
after, at some point after this, you walk over to your group, what I'm called Group 2, correct?
Correct.
And as you're standing over there, some people are tending to you, correct?
I don't know if I walked over to the group. I walked kind of a little away from him, I believe.
Hold on a second. Could I have the screen back up again? This is slide 4511, okay?
Okay.
I'm going to zoom in so I can ask you some questions about that, okay?
Okay.
The person in the yellow shirt, that's Q, is that right?
Correct.
The person in the green bikini, that's Gabby K.
Correct.
Agreed? And the person over here in the navy blue suit, that's Madison Cohen, correct?
Correct.
She appears to be on her phone, correct?
Correct.
Holding a beer in her left hand, correct?
Correct.
So while you're injured, correct?
Correct.
And looks like Quentin's coming over to, again, care and attention to you, correct?
I believe so. I remember talking to him.
And do you see here, do you remember Maddie standing there with the phone in her right hand, the beer in her left hand, and her glasses on her forehead?
No, I don't. I just remember Janelle screaming to call for 911 and then asking, just like I said, kind of walking around and asking for help.
Okay, so you don't know if in that moment in time, Madison Cohen had both of her hands full with the items that she'd had previously?
I had no idea.
You don't know what the condition of her sunglasses were that were on her head?
No.
Objection. Not evidence.
She doesn't remember.
Free approach.
Yes.
The water was short. Short water. Oh, they forgot the white noise machine. I wonder if somebody gave the court some feedback. It's tough, man. It's tough for these defendants. They just have to sit there and say nothing and do nothing and have a stone face. And they're looking at life in prison without possibility of early release.
You see sunglasses on Madison's head there?
I do not.
Can we take the screen down?
Yes. So when I was first questioning, I asked you what you remember specifically, your personal memory, and you talked about him hitting Nicolae, hitting Madison, and Nicolae stabbing you. Is that right?
Correct.
And then on cross, defense asked a lot of questions about the video and what you asked you to interpret things from the still frames.
Objection mischaracterizes what I
Again, please. I'll just say this for the jury's benefit. You are the judges of the facts. What the lawyers say is not evidence. So you can just disregard whatever they say. Focus on what the witness says. Next question.
Apart from what you remember that you've testified about, is the video is the best evidence. Would you agree with that?
We don't need her to say what the best.
Again, please, no speaking objections. It's a leading question, sustained.
When you spoke to police originally, did you tell them that you saw Nicolae hit Madison?
I believe so.
Do you believe you told that to law enforcement in the second interview as well as the two media statements?
I'm not exactly sure, but I believe so.
Defense asked you about how you described first to law enforcement about that hit. You recall that questioning?
Sorry,
Do you recall the questioning about you saying it was a slap and that was how you first described it?
I really don't remember being questioned in the hospital. I was just coming out of surgery and
Would seeing a transcript help refresh your memory on how you first described that to law enforcement?
yes.
Permission to approach?
Yes.
Showing you the transcript. It says location Regions Hospital, August 1st, 2022. I'm going to have you read from the beginning until you get to the point where you first describe that to law enforcement, okay? Bottom of page
I'm going to
2.
read it aloud.
No, just read it to yourself.
Well, she's doing that. Can we approach her?
Yes.
He's asking her to read several pages. Several pages of transcript. And the defense asks for sidebar. I think the defense might have objected, but they want the time for the sidebar anyway.
How long did you want me to read it down to?
Okay.
How long did you want me to read it down to?
Till the end of page 3.
I hope it's not in cursive.
Okay.
Does that refresh your recollection of how you first described it to law enforcement?
A little bit.
And what was it? How did you describe it?
The-
What word?
The hit of Maddie being hit.
Yeah, did you say punch, slap?
I said he went to go punch her in the face.
Defense asked you about Exhibit 104. Can we turn on the Elmo?
Summon the Elmo.
And defense asked, you have no reason to disagree with this, and you agreed. Do you recall that?
What did you say?
Defense asked that you have any reason to disagree with Exhibit 104, and you said you have no reason to disagree with it. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Do you have personal memory of who was where at that point in the video?
No.
Can we bring up my screen? Yes. So this is the image of your surgery scar, and then you can see the stab scar on the side.
Correct.
And are you holding your phone up with your arms here?
Correct.
And your stab wound is visible in this photo?
Correct.
So defense asks you, if your hands are like this, that area is protected. If your hand is like this, it's not.
Correct.
Your hand could be a lot of places and it could be
Correct.
exposed. And do you remember where your hand was? Do
I do not.
you remember hitting or pushing Nicolae before he stabbed you?
I do not.
What do you remember doing before he stabbed you?
Nothing.
Just standing there?
Just standing there and being stabbed.
So my expertise is not sentencing, folks, but there's only a handful of states where the jury has anything to do with sentencing. Normally, the jury determines guilt or absence of guilt, and that's it. And then they determine guilt, and the sentencing is up to the judge within the constraints of whatever sentencing guidelines the judge has to work with.
Can we bring up my screen? So we're on 2860. This is that frame where defense asked you about the Navy swimsuit where you can just see the very edge on the top left. Do you recall that?
Correct.
And defense asked, so we can deduce that you didn't go to Maddie. Do you recall that?
I do, but this was a while after.
I'm going to go backwards in the frames. And here, do you see yourself?
I do.
And do you see another leg, somebody standing right in front of you?
I do.
So we could also deduce you did go to her?
Correct.
Nothing else, Judge.
Keep that up.
Mr. Nelson?
Do you know who's standing in front of you?
I don't.
You see a white leg?
I do.
There were 13 people, 14 if you include Mr. Miu, correct?
Correct.
We know it's not Mr. Miu, correct?
Correct.
We know it's not Janelle, correct?
Correct.
We know it's not you, correct?
Correct.
We know it's not Dante, correct?
Correct.
There's lots of other legs that it could be, correct?
That is correct.
You don't know whether that's Madison or not.
I don't.
The only reason you were able to identify Madison and the other one is she's the only one wearing that navy suit, correct?
Correct.
All right. What I want to ask you is about some things that you'd said previously, okay, just to make sure we're on the same page about, firstly, about what happened with Madison, okay?
Okay.
You told Fox 9 Noon in an interview from the hospital bed, you said these words that are on the recording. Quote, "At first, I thought he had slapped her because I was like I said, I was just kind of not comprehensive." You said those words?
I guess so.
Now I want to ask you about your interaction with Mr. Miu, okay? What you said to Fox 9 News during that same interview is, "I don't know if I had hit him to have him upset." You said that, correct?
I believe so.
To Care 11 News, you said, "I'm not sure if I hit him because I was so upset."
Okay.
Agreed?
I guess so.
And then to the police, you said, "I don't know if I reacted like hitting him or yelling at him or something," correct?
Correct.
You mentioned to Care 11 News, Fox 9 News, and to the police, at least your opinion at that time is you might have hit him, correct?
Sustained.
That's all.
Thank you, Ms. Madison. You may step down. Please see the witness coordinator in the back, and she'll give you instructions. It's about 10:30. Why don't we take our mid-morning recess? We'll reconvene at about 10:35. Please take the jury out.
All rise for the jury.
All right, so mid-morning break. I'll catch up on questions and comments. While that's happening, I'll remind all of you, this coverage is brought to you by Law of Self-Defense in the form of our upcoming Law of Self-Defense Advanced class. This is our full day live course streamed to your computer that teaches you everything you need to know to be hard to convict if you're ever compelled to defend yourself, your family, or property. I guarantee you that Nicolae Miu wishes he had taken this class before he went tubing on that river, July 30th, 2022. We only teach this class twice a year. That's it. So if you miss this one, it'll be at least October until we do it again. We're currently in the pre-registration period for this one, so 50% off if you sign up now at lawofselfdefense.com/advanced for this advanced class. We teach you about defense of self, defense of others, defense of property, highly defensible property, and least defensible property. Your pets, by the way, are least defensible property. We talk about interacting with the police in the aftermath of a use of force event. That would have been very helpful to this defendant. We talk about how to devise your own legally sound self-defense strategy and much, much more. Go to lawofselfdefense.com/advanced. We have a list of more than 100 self-defense law questions we answer in plain English. Can you afford to wait? Because you don't know when you'll be attacked. You don't know when you'll be compelled to defend yourself, your family, your property. Nicolae Miu didn't go tubing July 30th, 2022, expecting he was going to stab 5 people that day. You need to have this knowledge, expertise, insight on board before the fight happens. And when the fight happens is not up to you. If you're a good guy acting in self-defense. So sign up now at lawofselfdefense.com/advanced. All right. First, we go to the Law of Self-Defense membership. Let's see. All right. I'll move this over. Will Parker says, folks in the chat are moving back to the Rittenhouse trial line of he should have. He could have done this. He could have done that. Yeah, so that's just not that's not smart thinking, right? Because you can always do the but for analysis, but it doesn't really work. Because ultimately you get back to, well, but for if his parents didn't have sex and conceive him, none of this would have happened. If only he hadn't gotten out of bed that day, he could have slept in. Nothing would have happened. If only that river didn't exist, nothing would have happened. There's an infinite number of things that could have been done differently and would have changed these events. But that's not legally relevant. What's legally relevant is the criminal charge and the legal defense. There's nothing about the legal defense that says he had to sleep in that day or that he had to walk away from these people. He had every right to be in that river. Now, there's a difference between what the law requires and what prudence might suggest. If it were me, I very much doubt I would have found myself in this situation. But that doesn't mean that's a legal obligation, and it doesn't mean it loses him self-defense. Let's see. Nice yacht master. Yes, it is a nice yacht master. Just got this one, actually, just within the last couple months. I've been looking for it for a long time. It's very difficult to buy a Rolex these days. Nobody's got anything in inventory. But a dealer I know who's been very helpful with other watches too called me up. He had this one in, and I grabbed it. Let's see. Yeah, she talked about how she gradually lost her ability to breathe. That would be a hemothorax. It's very common with a chest injury. Most common thing in the world. Let's see. Will Parker says, I'm seeing witnesses answer questions very quickly after being asked a question. This can be very dangerous to one's testimony by impeaching themselves. These defense counselors are doing a great job at keeping the pace up. Yeah, I like it when I'm questioning people. I like them to answer really quick. Often it means that they've prepared their answer. But in my experience, most people don't prepare very well. They prepare at a very superficial level. And especially if you have them on cross or you have them at a deposition, it's not that hard generally to pierce the veneer of preparation. And it's, it's like a blitzkrieg through the front lines of an enemy force, and you're in their rear and you just create havoc. She wasn't using that lung anyway. Well, I don't know. I thought this was frankly one of the more apparently credible, honest witnesses that the state's produced. Most of their other witnesses, I don't believe a word they're saying. I think it's completely fabricated. But this, she at least presented to me, and this is obviously subjective, and but she presented to me as someone who, was actually desiring to try to tell the truth here, as best she remembered it, which was obviously very imperfect. Okay, and let me just check super chats real quick. Refresh this. Okay, I don't want that. I want this. Earn. Let's see. Come on. All right. So let me get back to the video, and we'll go past this break.
Mr. Martin, please face the clerk. Raise your right hand. She will administer the oath.
Do you swear that the testimony you're about to give this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Please have a seat in the witness chair. Mr. Anderson.
Please state your, I'm going to ask you to state your first, middle, and last name.
Alexander James Martin.
Do you go by a nickname?
AJ. Yeah.
And AJ, were you tubing with friends on July 30th, 2022 on the Apple River?
Yes, I was.
And you're friends with Tony?
Yeah, we were roommates in college. And then that was the first time we'd seen each other in like 3 years.
Okay. And what college?
River Falls, Wisconsin.
What city and state do you live in now?
St. Paul, Minnesota.
AJ, do you have any prior criminal convictions?
Yes, 2.
And what do you do for work?
I'm a electrical apprentice. I install solar panels.
And how tall are you?
5'9" 3/4.
And how much do you weigh?
160 now.
And how much on, if you know about, on July 30, 2022?
170.
Is that a 5'9" response or what? How tall are you? 5'9" 3/4.
St. Paul, Minnesota.
AJ, do you have any prior criminal convictions?
Yes, 2.
And what do you do for work?
I'm a electrical apprentice. I install solar panels.
And how tall are you?
5'9" 3/4.
And how much do you weigh?
160 now.
And how much on, if you know about, on July 30, 2022?
170.
What do you, at some point when you're tubing on the river, did something catch your attention or people's attention that you're with?
Yeah.
What do you recall about that?
Just a lot of loud noises, screaming, yelling, someone asking for help. And then I had seen Maddie get up with someone, and what I remember was getting up, and I think I got Dante up with me, but then I turned around to also get Tony up, and Dante was over there. I turned back around from trying to get Tony up, and believe I saw Maddie get pulled in the back of her hair and then punched in the face. It could also be that she just got punched in the face, and I'd seen like the after, like her face get flung, and that's why I thought her head got pulled. And then,
so do you recall like how far away you were when you saw what happened to Maddie?
I was probably about halfway in between the groups. Or maybe a little closer to, we're group 2, right? So I would be a little closer to group 1, the teens group.
Still on your way over?
Yeah.
And after that, did you hurry over?
I mean, yeah, I was, after I saw him punch her, I wanted to get over there, but I tried to get over there as fast as I could, I guess.
And what do you recall after that?
Well, after he had hit Maddie in the face, I saw someone else hit him, and I wasn't sure who. I saw him fall into the water, and my intention was, because I used to work at elementary schools and had experience breaking up fights with little kids and stuff like that. So my intention was to go over there and try and break it up. I saw
What? What? He used to work at elementary school, and he has experience breaking up fights with kids. These 17-year-old football players for their high school were these elementary school kids? That's what, because he's good at. Oh my God! Why didn't these guys just these 17-year-old witnesses just come in like carrying coloring books and stuff?
him in the water, and I saw people going around him. So I went to push his shoulder in the front, but ultimately didn't. But I was going to try and just get him to stay down for another second and then tell everyone to back up, and then we could have figured out what was going on. But as I reached down to push him in the shoulders, he reached up and I guess, I don't know if you call it a stab, but got me with the knife.
What was your injury?
Well, there was a lot, I guess. The most apparent thing, obviously, was that my stomach was open and my intestines were in my hands. I don't know what other parts were there, but I mean, they were in my hands, and I know that from there, but afterwards with like the medical records and stuff, I know other injuries. I don't know if you want me to go into that or not.
Did you, after you're holding your intestines, did you see much of anything after that?
Not much. I mean, after that, I remember screaming pretty viscerally, I think is the word. And then I remember kind of scooping.
It's literally the word. I wonder if he knows that. Viscerally would be the perfect way to scream if you're disemboweled.
Putting it together with my left arm and putting my right arm down and standing up, and then falling down and standing up again. And I think I fell down and stood up one more time. And then I was kind of, I mean, I was still conscious. I was talking. But after that, really all I remember is that, and then telling Tony that I was going to die, and him telling me I was going to be fine and that I wasn't. And my response every time was like 100%, I'm going to die today. And then I remember waking up in the hospital with a breathing tube and my parents looking at me.
And do you know how long you're in the hospital for that first time?
Yeah, 27 days.
And after, when you woke up the first time, was that after surgery?
Yeah, it was around 11:30 that night, I believe.
Did you have follow-up surgeries?
A few, yeah.
Was your wound stitch closed right away?
No, they put what they call a wound vac on it. I assume that acts as kind of like a fake flesh or skin. And they left that on for about a week, doing other exploratory surgeries just to make sure that they didn't miss any other lacerations or injuries. And then after almost a week or so, they had done internal stitches, but left the top open.
By the way, those of you interested, I mean, super interested in like self-defense stuff, especially all of you self-defense instructors out there, if you teach self-defense, if I were you, I would clip out this guy's testimony right here, make a little video for your classes so that you can play it for your students so they're informed. If they're facing someone threatening them with a knife, one stab with that knife can result in this kind of injury. One. I mean, a 52-year-old man beset by multiple attackers managed to stab 5 people, including this guy, and disembowel him with a little folding knife. You think that's worth knowing? You think that might inform your decision-making in self-defense? You think having that information might give you a reasonable judgment to present a firearm and defend yourself with a gun against a mere knife? Free advice.
So that it would heal better, and they put another smaller wound vac over that.
Did you have to have any sort of devices to assist with digestion, eating, feeding?
Yeah, I had a few feeding tubes, some NG tubes to help with just the extra fluids in my stomach. But yeah, I had the feeding tube because after the surgeries, I had developed the hematoma in my intestine, and it was completely blocked off. There was no food, no water, and the IV nutrition wasn't doing enough. I had lost 50 pounds in that 27-day stint.
AJ, were you drinking on the river that day?
Yes.
Do you believe you're intoxicated?
Probably, yeah.
Do you recall how you got to shore?
No, not really. I didn't know that I did really. I just remembered the standing up and the falling down, and then I know people did move me in the end, but I don't remember it. I couldn't see or feel anything at that point.
And you don't remember well, let me ask, do you remember much of anything or anything from the point where you're on shore till you wake up in the hospital?
No, I think I had lost too much blood at that point. I mean, in the past, I've lost a lot of blood from an injury when I was younger, and I lost sight and vision. Or I mean, I lost sight and hearing from that too. So I know that like once you do lose enough, certain parts stop working because your body's trying to keep you alive, not your senses.
You talked about an artificial skin that you had on at the hospital.
Yeah, the wound vac.
Yes.
Yeah, so the defense objection is going to be that this is not a medical malpractice case. We know the guy was stabbed. I expect at this point the state will have this guy stand up and open up his shirt. Fast forward, fast forward, fast forward, fast forward. At least they got rid of that stupid white noise machine. Oh, we're back.
Just a graphic photo. Warn you first.
Yeah.
Can you just tell me what that photo shows?
Shows the wound vac and I guess the extent of the wound. I mean, yeah.
Is that a photo of you in the hospital?
Yeah, that was the next morning.
Okay. Judge, I'm going to move to admit this now. I'm not going to ask to publish it.
Any objection?
Other than those noted, and as long as it's not published, I think it's solved.
All right. It is received. And so what was the number?
Oh, sorry.
29.
What was it?
29.
29?
Correct.
29 is received.
AJ, do you recall telling law enforcement, I don't think I touched him, but if I was, my hand was on his shoulder, it wasn't forceful?
Yeah.
And did you tell law enforcement your goal was to try to break it up?
Yes, I remember that.
I'm going to go through some slides with you. Ready?
By the way, folks, there's actually zero evidence. The evidence is not that the defendant initiated contact with these kids. He was just wandering by. They initiated contact with him. They asked him, "What are you doing?" They were the initiators of contact. He was minding his own business.
$25.73. Are you in this frame, AJ?
Yeah, in the yellow shorts.
You can take this screen down, please. Can we have it again? Just going to go scroll from 2673. 2680, is that your shorts?
Yep.
That's a great image for the defense. Look at this. Another hit right there. I'm going to rewind this for a second. So here's the defendant on his ass in the water. This big fat guy with quadruple bypass. Recently, within the last year or two. He's back there. Who's he threatening here? Who's he a threat to? Anybody? Who's he about to hurt? What is that? What was that for? How could that be justified? What's the legal justification for that? Where's the imminent threat of harm he was presenting to anybody? Surrounded by multiple people attacking him. And right after that happens, this dude comes up over him too. What would a reasonable person expect is happening here? Someone's coming to rescue him? It's the friend of the guy who just hit him. Oh, and what's AJ doing? He's pushing on the defendant's back, pushing his face towards the water. I know it's only short water, but how much water do you need if you're face down in it to drown? And there's the stab. And is AJ leaning in when the stab happens? Is AJ leaning in? Or is he trying to get away? Or is he going for the defendant's neck? Who's falling backwards here?
Stopped at 2,800. That section of frames I just went through, AJ, is that the part where you got hit with the knife?
Yeah.
And of course, the legal question is not whether these people were actually trying to kill him. The legal question is whether a reasonable and prudent person in this defendant's position could have reasonably perceived that they were likely to cause him death or serious bodily injury, even unintentionally. Like, they don't know that he's a quadruple bypass patient, but he does. He knows he's exceptionally vulnerable to harm. That's what matters. And no one else got charges because the prosecution picks a side. They pick a story they want to tell. They can't tell both stories simultaneously. So they picked one, and the one they picked was this defendant.
And did you know that guy's name at the time?
No.
Now you know him as Nicolae Miu.
Yeah.
And the fact that he stabbed 2 people already when this happened doesn't matter because these guys didn't know that. So this was not influencing their decision making. I mean, we're supposed to believe that this guy thought he was exceptionally suited to de-escalating this because he worked at an elementary school and was good at breaking up fights between children. And after all, these were just children.
And I want to ask you a question quick before this exhibit 29. If you know, I don't want you to speculate, but do you know if that's, again, don't answer. If you don't know, it's fine to say you don't know.
Yeah, Will Parker makes a good point. The only reason that 5 people were stabbed and only one of them died is that this defendant didn't know what he was doing with a knife. If he'd known what he was doing, there would have been 5 dead people. They got lucky.
Is that from the slice, or did you have further incisions from surgery?
No, that's all from the slice. There's, it actually goes from, like, you can't see it super well in the picture, but it goes above my rib cage too. They didn't have to open me up. I was already open.
Do you know, can you show with your hands about how long the laceration was?
Yeah, about that. I mean, it's below the belt line to above my ribs.
Are you comfortable showing? Do you have a scar?
Yeah, quite a big one.
That's what he said.
Are you comfortable showing the jury?
Yeah, I can do that. Yeah.
You sure?
Yeah.
Okay.
Actually, make it faster. Just don't touch it.
Ba-ba-da-ba. Ba.
It stops right there. There's a little gap there because it hit my ribs, but
Okay.
And if this defendant had died because they drowned him in the river or his heart gave out or whatever the cause, and they were criminally charged, we'd have the medical examiner's autopsy reports of the defendant we'd be looking at here. Man, that looks like a rough. Who do you get for a surgeon? That looks like a I don't know, man. I got a guy here in Denver I could recommend who would probably do a better job.
Thank you. Now, I'm going to show, don't turn the screen on yet, please. It's going to be frame 3111. And I don't want to show it gratuitously, but I want the jury to see it. So if we could just turn it on for a second, turn it off. Yes. I don't have anything else.
Mr. Nelson.
Mr. Martin, my name's Aaron Nelson. I want to ask you some questions, okay?
Yep.
I understand watching the video and seeing the pictures is upsetting to you. Is that fair?
Yes.
I'm going to try to do it without the photos, but if you need to see one, you don't need to display it. Just let me know if you need something to refresh your memory. I'm happy to show you on my computer or some other way. Want to do this as easy as we can. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Want to ask about some of the things that you initially told the police about what happened, okay?
Okay.
Fair to say that your memory is spotty?
I wouldn't say spotty. I would say I remember everything up until I got stabbed pretty well, at least everything that I saw.
Okay.
For the most part.
And fair to say that's not what you told the police when you first met with them?
I mean, it was days after and I was on a bunch of pain meds. It's pretty understandable, I think, to not have the greatest memory at the time.
Maybe. I'm just trying to establish the fact that at that time, you didn't tell the police of certain things that you remembered. Agreed?
Sure, yeah.
Since that time, what you're saying is your memory has improved, correct?
I think that shock has worn off and I was able to remember things that I might have subconsciously blocked off, yes.
So again, I understand you have your reasons to explain why you think your memory got better, but we can agree your memory has changed from when you first talked to the police to what you're telling the jury today.
Right? Yeah, I just said that in different words, but yes.
And in that time frame, I would imagine you spoke with your friends and family about what happened, correct?
I mean, a little, I guess, you know.
I mean, this is a life-changing event for you, correct?
I mean, it was posted everywhere. People knew before I said anything, so
Imagine probably a day doesn't go by where somebody asks you questions about it, right?
maybe not so much now, but when it happened, yeah.
And amongst your group of friends, it sounds like you're really close with Tony Carlson, right?
I mean, yeah.
Do you live with him now?
Yeah.
Okay. And as a result of living with Tony now, I imagine you also see his brother Dante Carlson, correct?
A few times, but he lives in Wisconsin. I've only seen Dante maybe 3 or 4 times since the incident.
Okay.
And that includes yesterday.
All right. How about Madison and Riley? Did you know them before July 30th?
I didn't know Maddie, Riley, Scotty, Janelle, Sheena. Right? I didn't know any of them before that day.
Since then, because of this shared experience, have you talked with them about it?
Maddie, not so much. She's kind of hard to reach. And Riley, again, not so much. It's pretty traumatic for both of us. We didn't really want to, you know.
Understand. But you've definitely talked at different times with other people that were out on the river there with you that day, correct?
Yeah.
And you've seen other than today, had you seen the video that's been marked as exhibit number 2 and entered into evidence?
Yes.
How many times did you watch that?
2 or 3 a month ago or so. And then, excuse me, another few times going frame by frame. And then, yeah.
Okay.
And then all yesterday too, I guess.
You were here in court watching what was happening here, correct?
I thought I was going to be up here yesterday. So yeah, I was here.
Yeah. So I want to just make sure that when I'm asking you questions and you're giving answers, if you can do everything you can to say what you remember, the image that's in your head, as opposed to necessarily just something we can all watch the video of. Make sense?
Yeah.
What we know is when you spoke with the police on August 4th, you spoke with the police that day, is that right?
I think it was that day. All I really remember is saying that Biden was the president.
Okay.
I don't know the date.
Okay. Do you remember this young man over here in the gray suit sitting off to the side with a computer on his lap?
Yes, sir.
That's the investigator Schultz who you spoke with on that day?
Yep.
Whatever day that was in August, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And what you told him was
Is Investigator Schultz the third guy at the state table with the frosting in his hair? Is that Schultz? Anybody know?
Quote, the suspect had one of the girls, Maddie, by the head with his hand, and then I watched him pull her hair. That's what you told Mr. Schultz, correct?
I'm pretty sure that somewhere in there I had mentioned a punch too, but
I want to read you if you said this sentence to him, all right? Did you say to him, the suspect had one of the girls, Maddie, by the head with his hand, and then I watched him pull her hair, and then I looked back and I was like, Tony, we got to do something now. And so like, I just wanted to go over there and break it up. And by the time I got over there, Maddie had gotten away.
okay.
That's what you said, correct?
Sounds pretty accurate, yeah.
So when you first said that to the police, you don't mention in that sentence anything about a punch, correct?
I didn't in that sentence, no. I
You
might
said-
have later on.
You said that he had her by the head and then he pulled her hair, correct?
Yeah.
And as you sit here now, can you describe to me how he had her by the head?
Well, from what I remember, she had already kind of started to walk away, and then he grabbed her by the ponytail and
Okay.
pulled, and then punched with his left hand.
Okay.
And that was how he hit her in the left cheek, and why the glasses weren't affected. It's because he was from behind.
Okay. So your memory is
That's such obviously prepared testimony. Grabbed her by the ponytail, pulled, hit her with his left hand. I think this might be the first state witness to say that the defendant threw with the left hand, and that's why, to explain away all the other stuff the the defense is bringing up, and that's why her sunglasses were undamaged, and Christmas is every December 25th.
she's turned and walking away. I'm just trying to break this down. And she's got her essentially back to Mr. Miu, correct?
That was what I remember seeing.
And again, all you can do is tell us your memory.
Yep.
And as she's walking away, your memory is that he reaches out and grabs the back of her hair, correct?
Yes.
And do you know which hand he grabs the back of her hair with?
I would have assumed the right, because I believe he punched her with the left.
Okay.
So
And so did you know that at that time, when at 1:49 in the video, the knife had already been shown at 1:45 in the video?
I didn't at the time, but after watching the video, yes, I.
But your memory is that whatever he had in his right hand, he still managed to reach out his right hand and grab her by the hair with his right hand.
Yep.
And then he pulled her back?
Yeah, he pulled back and punched.
So punched her as she's facing away?
Well, when you pull someone's hair back, their head moves, so
Sure.
her head turned towards him, and then he punched.
No, this isn't fair to Mr. Trophacy, but if I'm pulling him back, if I'm Mr. Miu and this is Maddie, the punch is coming from this direction?
But he wasn't pulling her like that.
I understand Mr. Trophacy does not look like Maddie for lots of reasons we're not going to talk about, but, right? His hand's up here
Yeah.
and the head's coming back,
Mhm.
and then the left hand comes around.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's the manner in which you said that he hit her.
That's how I remember it.
And then it
yes.
would be upon her left side here.
It's probably in this area right here.
Okay, and you're
Maybe
making
up
it,
to the jaw or the cheekbone, but in this area.
and I'm just trying to make sure we get what you said down. And so you're describing an area to the front of the ear, correct?
Front of ear area, like sideburn area.
Sure. Where on you have some sideburns coming down, correct?
Yes.
All right. And where on you wearing glasses, it was below the frame of the glasses, correct?
Mhm.
All right. Is that a yes?
Yes. Sorry.
That's all right. So that's your memory of what you saw, is in pulling her hair with one hand and punching with the other, correct?
Yeah, but also when you were pulling back on him, you have to remember she had not trying to be rude, but like she has the hair, you know.
Yeah.
And so you also have to remember too, though, that her ponytail might have been not centered. So when he pulls, she's not necessarily going straight back.
Yeah.
She could be going to the side. She could be going to the other side.
I'm not trying to be, if it sounds as if I'm trying to be critical, Mr. Martin, I'm just trying to gather the facts.
No, I don't think that. I just felt like I wanted to or needed to say that.
Okay, that's fine. Fair to say that the description you just gave now isn't the description that you gave to the police back in August of 22. Agreed?
Yeah.
Yes?
Yeah.
Another sentence that you told to the police, you were talking to the police about your understanding that the suspect, Mr. Miu, had been making advances on one of the girls there. Is that right?
I didn't really know. I didn't know if that was what was happening. I had heard the other comments that the other group was making, so I didn't even know if there was a girl in their group at that point in time. I was just going over there because I didn't think that it was super smart to let two girls go and approach a 250-pound man by themselves.
So just a lot to unpack there again. lots of things were said and you didn't know what to believe. Would that be fair to say?
Yeah.
But when you're describing this to the police, I'm just trying to set this up where you say something to the police. Does that make sense?
Okay.
You say, I heard they were making advances on one of the girls there. Make sense?
Something along those lines, yeah.
And then the police officer says, they're like, yeah, the guy's hitting on her. She's not of age. The police officer says that to you. And in response, you say, I saw him grab the other girl by the head. So it didn't really matter at that point. Those are the words that you told Investigator Schultz, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yes?
Yes.
Okay. Other things that you said on that day were that you didn't touch Mr. Miu, correct?
I said that was a possibility. You read that earlier.
You were asked, were you touching him when you were getting stabbed? The answer, no. Do you remember? Answer, I don't think I ever did. If I did, like my hand was on the shoulder, maybe, but it wasn't forceful.
Yeah.
Those are the words that you said?
So I had said possibly not, but I also did give credit to the fact that I could have touched him.
I understand that. I'm just trying to gather what you exactly said to the police.
Yeah, I answered.
And the third thing that you said to the police regarding those things is you said that you saw, I think you said in your words, the black guy hit him, correct?
I thought it was him, but I wasn't sure.
Okay. You've learned since then that it's your roommate's brother that hit him, correct?
Yes.
But that's not what you told the police, correct?
It's not what I remembered.
Do you have a memory of the black guy hitting him?
That's what I thought I saw, but there was a lot of people standing close to each other. So
Okay.
it was pretty, I think, understandably pretty easy to get confused.
Understood. So you thought you saw him pull her hair and punch her with his left hand, right?
Yes,
You
I did.
thought you didn't touch him at all, right?
I didn't think that I didn't touch him. I could have possibly not.
And you thought that the black guy punched Miu, correct?
Yes.
Those were the memories that you shared with the police in August, correct?
Sure. Yes.
Fair to say that all those memories are wrong.
Yeah. I mean, I would.
Yes, you agree that those memories are wrong?
I would say, no, I wouldn't say that the second one is wrong. Because like I said, I gave credit to both the possibility of me hitting him or pushing him and the possibility of me not touching him at all.
Let's pull that one out. Let me just talk about the other two. Do you agree the memory that you told the police that you had of Mr. Miu pulling Madison from behind by the hair and punching her with the left hand, that's wrong?
I mean, I guess I can't say yes or no because it doesn't really show that in the video. And I mean, my memory about that hasn't changed. So
okay, that's still how you remember it.
That's how I remember it. Yes.
Okay. And the memory about the black guy punching Mr. Miu, that's still how you remember it.
No, not. I mean, I don't know exactly what I saw. I saw him close to him, and it could have been his arm that hit him, but I really didn't know what I saw at that point. So,
okay, all right. I want to go through a portion of what I think is on the video to just ask if that is what you remember happening, okay?
Okay.
Because as I think you told the police during your interview, you said to the police, I wanted to get the guy away from us, but I wasn't going to try and like punch him. I'm not a fighter. I'm tiny. That's what you told the police, right?
Yeah, I was the biggest I'd ever been in my life, and I was still not a super big guy. He had 80 pounds on me.
Understand. I'm just trying to, again, the words that you said to the police were, I'm not a fighter.
Yes.
All right. We saw in the slides there that at some point, Mr. Miu goes down into the water from Mr. Dante Carlson punching him, right?
Yes.
And just to put it into context. And then we see in the slides, your leg, you kind of approach and stand over him, correct?
I wouldn't say over him. I would say I'm to the side of him, and then he starts moving, and
okay,
my body position plus where he moved himself would make it appear that way.
Sure. He's on the ground, correct?
Yep.
In the water, correct?
Yes.
You're standing on 2 feet, correct?
Yes.
You weren't leaning over him, but it might appear that way if somebody is down in the water looking up, correct?
It could, yeah.
And when that happens, you don't push your friend Dante away, do you?
I didn't even know that Dante was there at the moment. I didn't see the second hit or slap or the third one. I had wet hair. My hair was hanging down. I was looking down. I wasn't focused on other people. I was focused on getting this man away from everyone else.
So this man,
Nicolae Miu.
Yeah, this man at that point, you knew he had been punched and knocked to the ground and he's in the water, correct?
Yep.
And you're telling the jury that what you were trying to do is you were trying to get him away from other people while he's down in the ground in the water.
Get people away in some way, shape, or form. It didn't need to be him. I wanted him to stay down so he couldn't go and punch another person. And then I was going to tell everyone there to back away because,
So there's a lot to unpack there again. As you said, you wanted to get other people away, but you didn't go to the other people. You went to Mr. Miu, correct?
Yeah, I went to the guy who was punching people first.
Correct. Again, based upon your memory that he pulled someone's hair and punched them from behind, correct?
Based on the memory that I know that he punched someone, yes,
Okay.
it doesn't matter how he punched them. I know he punched them and he shouldn't have.
Okay. And you were going to make him pay for that.
No.
So when he's down in the water on the ground and you're standing there trying to be the peacemaker because you're not a fighter, you thought it was going to be peaceful to you to keep him down in the water?
I mean, it was shallow water. His head wasn't below. All we needed was an extra second to get people to move away from him. And then he could get up and we could possibly have a conversation. But I mean, he hadn't used any words up until that point. So probably not.
So when you're standing there next to him when he's on the water, you don't see your friend Dante come up and smack him across the face a second time. You don't see that.
I saw him get dropped into the water and I was looking down at him. My hair was over my eyes here. I mean, it was shorter than it is now, but you can imagine.
So you didn't see him go back into the water the second time in response to Dante hitting him? You didn't see that?
He went down into the water and then he never got up.
Sure, because Dante
Until
hit him when
he-
he was in the water, correct?
Okay, but you said the second time he was in the water. That's the first time still. The second time came after he stabbed me.
Okay, understood. His first time was in the water was extended for a longer period of time because Dante smacked him when he was already down in the water.
Sure, yes.
And you were saying you were standing right there, but you didn't observe that.
No, like I said, my hair was in the way and I wasn't really focused on Dante. I didn't know where Dante was. I was focused on the man who was hitting
water.
people, who was hitting people, not.
At that point, the man that was hitting people was Dante Carlson, right?
Sorry, I will rephrase. The man who started the physical altercation.
Okay. That's what essentially your opinion is, correct?
I mean, I would say that the first person to throw a punch would be the first person to be aggressive, regardless of if there are other people slightly touching his shoulder. I mean, even you were talking about the consent to touch thing. And he touched other people without their consent too. So, I mean, if you want to go that way, we can, but it just doesn't make a lot of sense.
I'm not trying to go anyway, sir. I'm just trying to gather the facts. So the person that's punching Mr. Miu, you don't see that, correct?
I saw Mr. Miu fall into the water and I didn't see anything after that in terms of him getting hit.
When you saw him fall in the water, you went up to him from behind.
No.
I apologize, but I'm going to need to show some
Yep.
slides.
I mean, I can explain what I did.
It's good. I'm going to just go through some slides.
So again, I'll just point out the girl who I made meth jokes about, Riley Mattison. Compare her testimony to this guy's. This guy's testimony just appears completely not credible. He's actively attempting to frame it, a fabricated narrative for the jury. Here is how I perceive his testimony. The previous witness's testimony struck me as much more credible.
Please show my screen, please. Showing you what's 2705. That's Mr. Miu in the water, correct?
Yes.
That's Dante Carlson swinging to hit him, correct?
And my leg in the bottom.
That's your leg in the bottom, correct?
Yep.
You're moving towards Mr. Miu, agreed?
Yes. I'm moving at him from what would be his front left side.
And then eventually you come to be behind him, correct?
When I would still say I'm at the midpoint of his body, he just sat up. That wouldn't necessarily constitute being behind someone. I mean, yes, I was, I guess, technically, but he wasn't there when I walked there. He moved himself to have me behind him.
You moved yourself, correct?
No, he moved. I moved. I walked over there, yes, but I was standing right at about his hips, and then he sat up.
So is it your testimony that in some way Mr. Miu was aware of your presence and intentionally turned to have you behind him? Is that what you're saying?
I'm not saying he did it intentionally. I'm just saying that that's what happened.
Okay. So again, you're behind him, correct?
In sort of on his side until he
This
starts.
is you with your left hand on his back shoulder,
Yeah,
and his
but
right hand on his back shoulder, You're behind him, correct?
Yeah, I have both hands on one shoulder. I'm not completely behind him. You can see I'm somewhat on the side. But yes, I am somewhat behind him due to his repositioning.
You're pushing him, correct?
Yeah, that's where I had said that I thought I'd push him in the front left shoulder to keep him down, but I was there too late, so I didn't get that shoulder. I guess I got the back of it, and
You said you're a peacemaker, right? Do you like to mediate?
yeah, that's what I was trying to do.
You could understand how somebody who'd been down in the water and hit 2 times, getting pushed from behind, may not understand that you're trying to mediate. Goes to his mindset.
Overruled. You answer the question. Agreeable, sir.
Sorry, what was the question?
Sure. As somebody who likes to mediate and was attempting to mediate, you can understand how a person in Mr. Miu's position who'd been hit twice in the water might not understand or appreciate your intent to try to de-escalate by pushing him in the behind.
I
Might
guess
misunderstand that, right?
he could misunderstand that.
Sure.
I mean, could have been solved if he tried to use words at all too.
Could have. And let me just go from 2745 to 2747. Do you see that? That's you still, that's your body behind him, correct?
Yes.
That's your right hand on the right side of his back, correct?
Yeah.
That's your left hand on the left side of his back, correct?
I'd say right's more in the middle, but the left one is definitely on his left shoulder.
And that's your roommate's brother, who is your friend Dante Carlson. That's his hand that we can see underneath your underarm there that's hitting Mr. Miu, correct?
Like I said, I didn't see it, but the video showed it. So I mean,
So your
based off of memory, I can't say yes.
Okay. Your face is right there, and you're saying you didn't see Dante hit Mr. Miu there.
No, like I explained, my hair was down in front of my eyes. It's wet. My hair's thick and black, so it's not super easy to see through.
What you did say is Mr. Miu wasn't saying anything. You could agree that in this position, with somebody pushing him from behind and somebody hitting him in the front, it might be a difficult time to use your words to make peace.
Yeah, the right time to use your words would have been before he punched a woman in the face.
We can get to that later. You extend your body to in an attempt to push him down, as you said.
This is gold for the defense. I mean, even if you believe that the defendant had punched the woman in the face, that doesn't mean they have infinite license to use force against him afterwards. They don't have the power of execution. They're not licensed vigilantes. They don't rain vengeance on people they're offended by. If he punched the woman, they're privileged to defend her against further harm. Not to beat this guy down, not to kill him, not to make him think reasonably he's about to be killed.
You say, correct?
Well, I was pushing down and then he got up and I fell forward. So
I was asking about your intent. Your intent was to push him down in the water. Agreed?
it was to push his shoulder down so that he stayed down and I could tell everyone to back up. Yes.
You agree? Your intent was to push him down and keep him in the water.
To keep him down. If the water, I mean, if the ground was there, I would have done the same thing. I wasn't worried about there being water or not. It was shallow. His head wasn't going below. He was going to be okay.
You can understand how perhaps somebody in the position getting pushed from behind in the water might not appreciate that you were trying to protect him and keep him okay, right?
I
Does
guess.
his head appear to be getting wet there?
Not his face. That's where your mouth is. I see maybe the right cheek dip in a little bit, but as soon as go a few slides further and you'll see his head sit back up again.
Sure. Safe as can be, right?
I don't know.
It is. Yeah, please, let's focus on the facts. Just clean Q&A, please.
Just back up a little bit more here. When you said his head didn't go in the water. Fair to say that's his head making a wave, correct?
I would say that's his back making a wave and his head still not in the water.
Have you ever fallen back after getting laid out in the water like that?
Yeah, I have.
Okay. Did it feel like maybe the water was coming up on you even if it technically didn't?
No, I mean, water usually has a pretty distinct feeling on your skin. I mean,
When you had that experience where you got laid out and fell back into the water, did someone come up and attack you a second time in that situation?
Sustained.
So I'm going to go forward back to the position where we were before. I apologize. So again, you'd said here at 2754, you're attempting to keep him down and he manages to move away from you, the person who's pushing him somewhere in the back area, right? Yes?
yes, I was trying to push him in the front left shoulder and I got the back left shoulder.
Sure.
Because he was getting up and I was not fast enough to get the front left shoulder.
And I'm going to go through some other photos here that might be difficult. Are you okay with that?
Yeah.
In this position now, that's you in the yellow shorts, correct?
Correct.
And to your right is Dante Carlson, correct?
I believe so. I don't know. I don't remember seeing anyone else there. I remember pushing down and feeling strange.
Sure. Is this person, you knew what Dante looks like, correct?
Yes.
Is that Dante in the two-tone gray shorts with the Truly in his hand?
I believe so, yeah.
And then that's the same person that's legs are right there, correct?
Correct.
So you and Dante are standing very near Mr. Miu as he's beginning to try to get up out of the water, correct?
Correct.
And as he begins to get up out of the water, you move towards him, correct?
Yeah.
You didn't know that he had a knife, correct?
No.
You were going at him, correct?
I don't know. I don't remember anything after
Your
first push.
This is where you're trying to, you push him down again, correct?
I would say we kind of attacked each other at that one, if anything, but I mean, I don't remember this, so I can't tell you.
But
he got me before I did anything to him, so.
This is your hands on him, agreed?
Okay, maybe my hand is on his arm, yeah.
This is you, as you said, attacking him, correct?
I didn't mean attacking, sorry.
Those are the words that you used to the jury.
I mean.
You were attacking him.
I wasn't attacking him.
Okay. You were trying to push him down in the water.
I was trying to separate or get him isolated so that we could separate everyone else from him. So we could get everyone away and then we could figure out what was actually going on. Because you hear teenagers asking for help. You hear people yelling that he's a whatever. And at that point, and you see minors, you're going to be more worried about getting him away from them before you ask the questions.
And you chose to do that by using your hands on his body to push him, correct? Yes?
I tried to keep him down with my arms, yes. And then I was going to tell everyone to back up and give him some space.
So as you said, you're not a fighter, correct?
Yes.
You were trying to mediate, correct? All right.
We've been through this before. Let's move on to a new topic.
You'd heard that people calling him a predator, correct?
I don't know what I heard. I heard them saying stuff about a little girl, and I don't know what else it was. I don't know. I didn't know, like I said, I didn't know if there was a girl in that group. I wasn't worried about whether or not there was. I was worried about getting the person that they were calling a pedophile or a raper away from the minors. You can have a conversation about that later.
You agree that even though you're not, as you say, you're not a fighter, you pushed a man from behind while your friend was smacking him in the front. Agreed?
I would.
Hold on. Sustained. We've been through this before many times. Please.
You have an
Please. I am speaking.
Sorry.
Please move to a new topic.
Apologize, Judge. I thought you were done. Do you have any explanation as to why you pushed him while your friend was hitting him if you're not a fighter?
Objection, Judge.
I already answered
No,
this.
please.
Ask and answer.
Sustained.
Was it because you got caught up with the crowd?
It was because I couldn't see the person in front of me because my hair was blocking my vision, and I was focused on the man who had just punched a 23-year-old or 22-year-old girl in the face.
That's all.
Mr. Anderson?
Nothing else.
Thank you, Mr. Martin. You may step down. Is he released? Okay. Please see the witness coordinator in the back.
Look at him! Look at him running out of that courtroom.
Do you have another witness available?
We do free approach?
Yes.
That witness ran out of that courtroom. He'd had enough. Woo! He should have done that July 30th, 2022. He was just breaking up a school kid, an elementary school fight. He's got experience doing that. He didn't mean any offense. His hair's hanging in front of his face. He's looking down from his position, crouched over the defendant. He's looking down, pushing down on the defendant's back while his friend is slapping the defendant's face in the water.
Osri Osmpour.
Honor, she may have stepped downstairs. We've got folks looking for her.
Okay.
We can take.
So while we're in between witnesses, if you want to stand and stretch, please do so. It just might be a moment or two before she comes back upstairs. Please come forward. Right into about the middle section here, and then you can face the clerk, raise your right hand. She will administer the oath.
Testimony you are about to give this matter shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. I do.
Please have a seat in the witness chair. Mr. Smesta.
Would you please say your name and spell your name for us, please?
My name is Gabriella Khazar-Nazimpour, and how to spell Khazar-Nazimpour is Khazraeinazimpur.
How old are you?
25 years old.
What do you do for a living?
What?
What do you do for a living?
I work as a phlebotomist at Octapharma in Maplewood.
Where do you live? What town?
I live in Centuria, Wisconsin.
Were you part of a group with the Carlson family tubing on the Apple River back on July 30th of 2022?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that? I can't hear you.
I'm going to pull the microphone closer. Sorry. Do you have some hearing loss?
Yeah, I was deaf as a baby.
Okay. Were you part of a group of people that were tubing down the Apple River back on July 30th, 2022, including the Carlson family?
Yes, I was.
If I can approach, Judge?
Yes.
You go by nickname?
You can call me Gabby.
Gabby, I'm going to show you what's been marked as exhibit number 26. I'll ask you directly.
I've seen lots of witnesses testify at trial, folks. Everyone's always a little nervous if they're not an experienced expert witness or someone who testifies a lot like police officers. When someone is hyper nervous, that's not normal. That's not someone who's just showing up and they're just there to tell the truth as they understand it and recall it. They're not facing legal jeopardy. What do they have to be hyper nervous about? No one's coming after them. Often what they're hyper nervous about is getting caught in their lies. That's what they're nervous about, especially if they're state witnesses and they're babied through their prepared testimony by the state. And then the buzzsaw of cross-examination comes out and they realize, uh-oh, maybe that preparation wasn't enough. This chick looks like she's about to hyperventilate. She looks even worse than than AJ.
You guys that document?
Yes.
Tell us what it is.
It's a picture of me and all my friends on the Apple River.
Is it from that day, July 30th, 2022?
Yes, it was.
Which one are you?
I'm the one standing next to Q and Dante.
Is there a yellow label showing your name?
Yes, there is.
In that picture, are you drinking any alcoholic beverages?
No, I am not.
Have you been drinking that day?
Yes, I was.
Do you remember what you had to drink?
No, I do not.
Do you remember how many drinks you had?
If I had to guess, maybe 5.
And is that 5 over the course of the day?
Yeah, throughout the whole Apple River, tubing down the river.
All right. At some point, as your group is going down the river, did you come across a disturbance of some kind?
Yes.
What did you see yourself?
I saw a group of kids asking for help.
A group
Did you know
of
who these kids were?
No, I did not.
Did you figure out why they were asking for help?
They said that this guy was saying that he was a pet. I'm sorry.
Slow down. You got time.
They were asking for help because he said he was a pedophile.
All right. He said that or they said that?
They said that.
All right. Did your group stop when you came across this disturbance?
Not originally, no. It took us a little bit before we did stop.
All right. Eventually you did. Did you stop? Eventually, did your group stop?
Yes.
Did someone from your group go over to this group that was asking for help?
Yes.
Do you know who that was?
It was Madison.
All right. Did you, what did you see Maddie do?
I saw Maddie ask this guy to leave multiple times, and he chose not to.
All right. Did he react to her telling him to leave multiple times?
Eventually, yes.
What did you see him do?
I saw him hit her in the face.
All right. At that point, were you on your tube or were you in the area? Where were you located?
It was probably in between the tubes of where my group was and then where everyone else was dealing with the situation.
All right. Do you know about how far away you were when you saw Maddie get hit by the other person?
Maybe from me to you.
Did you see what happened to Maddie after she was struck?
I saw Dante punch him in the face and he went down.
All right. Did you see where Maddie went?
I saw Madison was still standing behind.
All these, I heard a bunch of kids asking for help stuff. They make it sound like it was an elementary school field trip. Oh my gosh. It wasn't that, folks. It reminds me of the Trayvon Martin case where they in the George Zimmerman trial. Remember this guy? This kid? This cute little kid? Trayvon Martin wearing the Hollister t-shirt. This is what was in the media. Under what circumstances could it ever be lawful to shoot a cute young kid like this through the heart? What could he have done to hurt anybody? You know who George Zimmerman had to defend himself against? In that alleyway, in that condo complex, awash in home invasions and burglaries? This dude, this high school football player, also 17 years old. I would suggest that this and this are two different things. And of course, this jury is going to has seen all these people testify who were these children on the river dealing with a pedophile. Someone had to save them from this 52-year-old fat-bellied man, quadruple bypass patient, who they approached, they engaged.
Far away from the situation.
Right. Do you know, or were you close enough to see what hand he used to punch her?
His right hand.
All right. And did you see what part of her face that he struck?
The side right here.
Okay. You're saying, are you pointing to your right cheek?
It would have been her left.
Left cheek?
Yes.
Do you know whether he used a fist or an open hand?
I don't fully remember.
All right. After Dante, you said you saw Dante punch the gentleman. Did he fall down?
Yes, he did.
Eventually, did he get back up?
Yes, he did.
What did you see him do when he got back up?
I don't really remember what I saw. I just blinked and then everyone was bleeding.
All right. Did you see him stabbing?
I see some jackass in the comments saying Zimmerman attacked Trayvon first, according to the 911 call. You liar. You shameless liar. Either you've never listened to the 911 call or you're just lying. I've listened to the entire thing. I've played the entire 911 call in lectures at the FBI Academy in Quantico. There's nothing in that 911 call that says anything of the sort. You pathetic little liar. Sorry, folks. Just had to get that out there.
Anybody?
No, I did not.
I'm going to show you a still frame from the video. Are you aware that there was a video taken that day?
After the math, yes.
All right. Did you, have you ever seen it?
I saw it for the first time on March 18th.
All right. Your Honor, I'm asking to show it's slide 2993. We're ready. So Gabby, on 2993, do you see yourself in that picture somewhere?
Yes, I do.
Can you explain to us where you're at?
I am behind Riley holding the phones.
All right. What are you wearing?
I'm wearing a green swimsuit.
All right. When you say Riley, which person in this picture is Riley?
Riley's the one with her mouth open holding the side of her body.
All right. Who's the person standing right behind Riley?
I have no idea who that is.
Was he part of your group?
No.
We're going to move ahead to 3024. All right, Gabby, we're showing you slide 3024 from the video. Do you still see yourself in that video?
Yes, I do.
Was that you in the middle, still in the green bikini?
Yes, sir.
The gentleman that you didn't recognize with the sunglasses, where's he located in relation to you?
No relation. I don't know him.
I mean, but where's he located?
In front of me?
Who's that directly to his, would be his left?
With the swimsuit?
Right.
That'd be Riley.
All right. And so this, did you see this gentleman walking into the group?
Not that I recall, no.
All right. But you see him there now?
Yes.
Was he part of the group of children that or teenagers that had been calling for help?
I do not remember.
We're gonna scroll through and we're gonna try to stop at 4511 here. If you can just watch the screen. Just keep going. I'll tell you when to stop.
That's a bad day.
Short waters. Look at her shaking.
Okay, we're ready.
We're ready.
Gabby, we're showing you the frame 3029. Are you in that frame, if you can tell?
I think I'm behind the guy in the black shirt.
All right, the black shirt and the sunglasses.
Yes.
Did he appear to be walking up to Mr. Miu?
Yes.
Do you remember that, or are you just remembering it because it's on the slides?
Just because it's on the slides.
At the time, did you make a mental note of who is this person?
No.
I may have already asked you this, but you didn't see Mr. Miu stab anybody.
Correct.
At some point, did you realize that some people had been stabbed?
Yes.
Was one of those folks Riley Madison?
Yes, it was. She came up to me
When did she come up to you?
while I was on the phone with 911.
All right. That's my next question. At some point, did you call 911?
Yes, I did.
While this incident was going on?
Yes.
When Riley came up to you while you were on the phone with 911, what did she look like?
She looked like she was having a hard time breathing and was bleeding down the side of her.
Did you see where Mr. Miu went after he stabbed these folks?
No, I did not.
Were you recording anything?
No, I was not.
Did you have your phone out for the purpose of the 911 call?
Yes.
Did you see if people stop to render aid to folks who were injured?
Yes, I did.
Sustained.
Right. Did you see anybody else stop?
Yes.
What were they doing?
They were helping us with everyone that was bleeding.
Oh, we're ready. Gabby, I'm showing you it's a zoomed in view of slide 4511. Do you see yourself on that slide?
Yes, I do.
Whereabouts are you located generally?
I'm on with the green swimsuit, looks sunburned like a lobster.
All right, are you to the left or the right of the gentleman in the yellow shirt?
I'm not good with my left and right. I'm sorry.
What?
You see a gentleman in a yellow shirt?
Yes, I do.
You see a person that's off.
That's where they get phlebotomist from, folks. Just so you know. I'm not good with my lefts and rights. Oh, good Lord. There's a place for everyone on God's great earth. Maybe they need to teach her like your left hand makes an L when you hold it up.
To the
I'm
someone who
behind.
appears to be on the telephone.
Yes, that's me.
All right, is that what are you doing with them?
Hey, at least she's not like a surgeon doing amputations at the hospital, right? That would be awkward. That malpractice suit. It's like, well, I'm not that good with my lefts and rights. I thought it was the right leg.
Phone at that point.
I think I'm on the phone with 911.
All right. Do you remember how long you were on the phone with them?
No.
All right. I don't have any other questions.
Ma'am, in terms of your memory of what had happened, tell me if I have this right. You have a recollection of it up until what point?
What do you mean?
Well, I think you said you blanked at some point and have no and don't remember what happened after a certain point that day, right? Is that true?
Yes.
Okay. Do you remember when that was?
Probably the most I don't remember is when everyone was getting stabbed.
Okay. You do remember floating and hearing people. I think you said the group was saying that he was a pedophile.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes.
And that certainly made you feel a certain way, right?
Well, yes.
Okay. How did it make you feel?
Uncomfortable.
Okay. Concerned?
Yes.
And it got Madison Cohen off of her tube. Is that fair?
Yes.
Okay. And I think you heard, or you indicated that Madison asked him to leave multiple times. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. You didn't hear Madison attempting to figure out what was going on, right? You just heard her tell him to leave. Is that true?
Correct.
Okay. And to be fair, if we're being fair, she's yelling at him, isn't she?
Yes.
Okay. She's swearing at him, isn't she?
Yes.
Okay. And if we're being fair, she doesn't have any information, to your knowledge, as to what's actually going on, right?
Correct.
Okay. So if I said she's jumping to a conclusion, in your mind, is that fair?
That's correct, Your Honor.
Sustained.
You would agree no one in your group had any information as to what actually had happened, right?
Correct. Yes.
Okay. And you don't see or hear Madison Cohen ask Mr. Miu his side of the story, do you?
No.
Okay. So she walks up and immediately starts yelling at him to leave. True?
Correct.
Okay. And you'd agree she doesn't have any authority to do that, right?
Objection. She wouldn't know authority to satisfy that.
Sustained. Relevance.
He can be wherever he wants on the river, right?
Correct. Yes.
And she can be wherever she wants.
Correct. Yes.
Okay. And when she's yelling at him and telling him, swearing at him to leave, you'd agree he doesn't react in a violent manner, correct?
Eventually, he does. Yes.
My question to you is, when all of this is, when she's telling him to leave and swearing at him and walks up to him, he doesn't react aggressively, true?
Yes, but he doesn't say anything either to us.
Doesn't act aggressively, yes.
Yes.
Okay. And he doesn't, he's not verbally aggressive either, right?
He doesn't say anything.
So that would be not being verbally aggressive, right?
Correct.
Okay. And you know there's 6 people, 6 of these people that are asking for your assistance, right?
Yes.
Okay. And then so more of you come over to help, is that right?
Yes.
Do you see Madison wave you guys over? Is that why you come over? Do you see that?
No. What do you mean?
There's been testimony and videos and stills of Madison waving, like using her hand like I'm using it now, waving your group over.
Okay.
Is that why you went over?
No, I just followed her.
You just followed Madison over. Okay. Do you get involved right away?
No.
Are you jumping to conclusions as to what has happened?
No.
Come on up.
Bench, come to the bench. This judge does not like any hijinks in his court. I can't tell here if he thinks the defense is engaged in hijinks or if he thinks the state objection is, but he wants to chat with these parties for sure.
Would you agree that Madison Cohen is in Mr. Miu's face when she's yelling at him?
Yes.
Okay. And you had said on direct examination that you observed Mr. Miu punch her, right?
Yes.
Okay. And you said that he used his right hand and punched her on the left side of her face.
Yes.
Okay. And that's how you remember it, right?
Yes.
Okay. You told the police that he smacked her across the face using his left hand, actually, though, didn't you?
Yes, I did say that.
Okay.
But that's not what happened.
So when you were talking to the police, you weren't telling them the truth?
No, I was. It was just, there's a lot that was going on.
Have you been watching this case?
No.
Okay. So do you have a specific recollection now, 21 months later, that Mr. Miu didn't hit her with his left hand, but hit her with his right hand?
Can you rephrase this?
I can re-ask it.
Yeah.
Do you have a specific recollection now after about 21 months since this happened, that Mr. Miu didn't use his left hand, but in fact he used his right hand?
Yes, he used his right hand.
Okay. And when you had said that he smacked her across the face, when you told
That's the drilling I was warning you about. Hopefully it's going to be mitigated.
when you told that to the police, is the word smacked and across the face, is that an indication from you that he's using an open hand?
Yes.
Okay. So when you tell the police that he uses an open left hand, now you're saying he used a closed right hand. Is that fair?
Yes.
Okay. And have you watched this video all the way through?
Yes.
Okay. So you're aware that when Mr. Miu is standing in front of Madison Cohen, he's holding the knife in his right.
So this is an example. Someone asked earlier, maybe in this morning show, can't you question the honesty of the witness? The answer is yes, but you have to be able to do it with evidence. You can't simply posit to them, are you sure you're not lying under oath? You're under oath here, right? You know you're supposed to tell the truth. The court doesn't like that. But if you can show prior inconsistent statements like they're doing here, go at it all day long.
Right hand, right? You're aware of that?
Yes.
Okay. And it's your testimony that holding this knife in his right hand, he still punches her in the face with this hand. That's your testimony?
Yes.
Okay. And that she was holding her left side?
Yes.
Okay. And you would agree that your statement to the police was she was holding the right side of her face, right?
I don't remember.
Well, if I told you that you indicated the male suspect smacked Madison across the face using his left hand, your name, Gabriella, then advised that Madison walked away holding the right side of her face.
Very bad with my left and rights. So it was with his right hand.
And I'm going to show you, can you go to 2573? I'm going to show you just one or two stills.
Lefts and rights, ups and downs, forwards and backwards. Who knows? It's a crazy world out there.
Okay. Okay. We're ready. Now I'm going to tell you, I don't know if you know this. The guy in the yellow shorts is AJ Martin, right?
Yes, it is.
Okay. And he's walking toward Mr. Miu and toward Madison, right? Is that fair?
Maybe.
Okay.
Not really facing that direction to see.
You're standing there just watching what's going on. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And if I submit to you that this is moments before you're saying this punch occurs, you're not looking at what's going on, are you?
Not in the picture, no.
Okay. And you're holding a telephone?
Yes.
Are you recording on that telephone?
No.
Okay. When you walk over there, when you walk over there, you know that Mr. Miu's alone, or you believe he's alone, right?
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna show you what's been marked as exhibit, moved actually, as 104. I would submit to you, tell me if this is fair. You believe this is a photograph of Madison Cohen and Riley?
Yes.
That's right. And this has been introduced into evidence as to the general location of folks as this incident was going on. Okay.
Okay.
I think you are represented by GK there.
Okay.
Okay. Do you think that's a accurate representation to the best of your knowledge as to when Madison and Riley were in front of Mr. Miu, where everyone else was kind of situated?
I don't remember where everyone was situated when it happened.
Okay. You were off to Madison and Riley's right-hand side though, right?
Yes.
Okay. And I think you told the state that you are, I don't know the distance here, but you're 15? You told me how far
Yeah,
away?
I'm not good at math, so I don't know.
You're a little distance away,
Yes.
right? And there's 13 of you. There's been testimony. There's 13 of you when this happens. Did you say that's fair?
Yeah.
Okay. And the person that you've been asked about, meaning the person wearing the black shirt who kind of comes in at the end, who's blocking that picture of you. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Okay. You didn't see him during this incident, did you?
No.
Okay. To your recollection, he wasn't there to assist, meaning he wasn't present to assist Mr. Miu when this was going down, right?
No.
Okay. So to the best of your recollection, it was Mr. Miu alone in the situation. True?
True.
Okay. You remember, tell me if this is fair. You remember Dante Carlson punching Mr. Miu in the face?
Yes, I do.
And do you remember seeing Mr. Miu fall down?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Do you recall Dante Carlson smacking Mr. Miu across the face again?
No.
You don't recall that?
No.
Do you recall AJ Martin pushing Mr. Miu from behind?
No.
Do you have any recollection after that as to kind of what happened?
Like what happened during all of that?
Yeah.
No.
Okay, that's okay. I'm not being critical. I'm just trying to make sure that I'm getting what you know.
Okay.
Look at that vibration going on.
Then I don't have any other questions. Appreciate your time today. Thank you.
Just a couple of judges.
Yes.
No, I'm afraid. Gabby, defense attorney asked you a lot about which hand he used, what you told police. Maybe?
Yeah.
So regardless of what hand he may have used, do you have any doubt that this was struck Maddie in the face?
Oh, you did.
Mr. Trophecy had said things to you like he wasn't acting violent when Maddie was telling him to get out of there and swearing at him and such. But then he asked you if you were aware that he was holding the knife when that happened. Did you see him holding the knife?
No, I did not.
I'm going to show you some slides starting at 2504. We're going to scroll through from 2504. Before we start, do you remember this moment in time on the river? Where it looks like Riley's in front of him, looking at him?
No, I do not.
All right. Can you, as we scroll through, I want you to look and see what's in his right hand.
Judge, I'm going to object. She has no recollection of it, and the video is.
I don't like speaking objections. If you want to talk, come on up and we can talk all you want.
Fair objection. Witnesses are there, lay witnesses, non-experts are there to testify about their personal knowledge. He asked her about the photo. She says she doesn't recall. No more questions about that photo. She doesn't know her left from her right. Oh my God.
Sustained. Let's move on.
Did you know he had a knife in his right hand?
No, I did not.
We're going to continue scrolling through. Eventually, we're going to see you in relation to these folks.
In his face.
And we stopped at 2563. Is that you?
Yes.
And at that point, is your head turned off to where your group is?
Yes.
Had he punched Maddie yet at that point?
Objection, Judge. She doesn't, since you didn't.
Everybody's so well fed.
Objection.
Objection noted. In this circumstance, overruled.
At that point, while your head was turned, did he punch Maddie while your head was turned?
No, I saw him punch Madison.
Nothing else.
Mr. Trophecy?
When this is fair, when you're saying that he struck Maddie was in his personal space, yes?
Yeah.
And I know there was a question about holding the knife. He never threatened anybody with the knife when he pulled it out, right?
Overruled.
You don't have a recollection of him showing that knife and trying to
No, I do not.
intimidate people with it? or
No.
anything, do you? Okay. Go ahead, man. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Kazri Osmanpour. You may step down. Please see the coordinator in the back. She'll give you further instructions. It's a little after noon. I understand lunch has just arrived, so we're going to break. Just to remind you, do not begin your deliberations. Do not discuss the case with yourselves or with the attorneys, the public, the media, or anybody else. Do not conduct any independent research or investigation. Do not watch or read any accounts of this trial on your devices. The bailiff will take you downstairs for lunch, and we will reconvene at 1 o'clock.
All rise for the jury.
All right. That's it for an hour. There's a new one. Sorry, folks. I'm trying to get to the right place for when we start. But right now, I'm going to take an opportunity to catch up on questions and, of course, mention the sponsor of today's content, which is none other than Law Self-Defense itself, in the form of our upcoming Law Self-Defense Advanced class, our full-day class taught live by me, streamed to you at your computer Saturday, April 20th. We only teach this class twice a year, folks. If you miss this one, it's October at best before we do it again. This is the class where you learn how to be hard to convict if you're ever compelled to use force in defense of yourself, your family, your property, all in one day. Learn defense of self, defense of others, defense of property, how to interact with the police in the aftermath of a use of force event. I assure you, this defendant, Nicolae Miu, would have benefited enormously from taking this class. Learn more at lawofselfdefense.com/advanced. We have more than 100 very specific self-defense law questions that we lay out there, that we explain in plain English during the course. And you can still get 50% off in the pre-registration period. lawofselfdefense.com/advanced. That's our sponsor. All right. Don't miss it, folks. You don't know when you're going to be attacked, right? Nicolae Miu didn't know the morning of July 30th, 2022, he was going to end up having to stab 5 people. He should have taken the class then. It's too late to take it afterwards. Let's see. From the Law of Self-Defense members first. Yeah, we'll get to that later. Every time Corey Sheriff Giraffacy says that, it's he's promising you a good time. Mindy says, I'm going to defend medical persons on the left and right issue. We look at everything backwards because patients are the opposite of us, so we have to do left and right issue. Okay. All right, so that was all the members, and let's take a look at super chats. Need to be a $5 minimum. Looks like there aren't any new ones. All right, so folks, all that said, I'm going to wrap this here. So we have, I've been talking or following this for 8 hours already today, and that's about my limit. So it looks like we have another, after lunch, maybe another 3 hours of testimony. I'm going to catch up on that tomorrow morning. Look for the email or look for the YouTube notification. You have to subscribe. And tomorrow we'll do the rest of day 3 and catch up on day 4 and see how far we can get into day 5. So for this weekend, this Sunday, I tell you to enjoy the rest of the weekend, but it's pretty much over, I guess. I'll just remind all of you that if you carry a gun, so you're hard to kill, carry a knife, like this defendant did, carry pepper spray, study jujitsu. I do all those things, so I'm hard to kill. If you do those things, so you're hard to kill, or any of them, you also owe it to yourself and family to know the law, so you're hard to convict as well. So until tomorrow morning, I remain Attorney Andrew Branca for the Law of Self-Defense. Stay safe. Bye.